editing, this writes to another database. You guys all connected to the GIS check database. GIS check these are all checks, and that's on the data reviewer database. It's an extension to ArcMap, and really just flags the data over there, and then you fix it. You fix it and edit, and you flag it and review it within check. That's kind of how they work together.
Okay, I just started recording. So the planning spreadsheet, I mean, you have the spreadsheet, so you can always look at that. And this one is for transport. Yeah. And so all of those rules there, based on your feature classes that you have in transport, it's either like the domain checks or geometry on geometry checks and those kind of things.
Any questions about these ones?
We will be giving these spreadsheets to you. I mean, they're already there in that folder for you to take a look at. So, no.
So, does your team ever do anything with Travelway?
In regards to GIS, or?
Yeah. To me, I think Travelway is almost like a data set that's more traffic related.
Well, unless they're talking about the edges of pavement where there's no curb and gutter, I don't know if that's what that's meant to be. I'd have to kind of look at what line work it's referring to.
I can show you that.
You also wrote GAU is sliver. I think it should be gap.
Gap, yep. Thanks.
Or it could be that, wasn't that the Portuguese guy that was an explorer named GAU?
Yeah.
Something like that?
All right.
Magellan.
Yeah, okay. So let's go and take a look at the one for traffic too.
So I mean, I kind of back up a little bit. Just probably a dumb question. We kind of just jumped into the spreadsheet. So was this saying, hey, there's our existing file. We ran this check. You want us to review these errors, or what are we doing with this?
The errors are for your information only, just to let you know, because if you ever ran the file that we gave you, if you run through the data review process, those errors will show up. This is for your information, saying that these are the different checks that have been configured to run on your data. And if you wanted something else, it can always be added to your. This is like your documentation on quality control, saying these are the automatic checks that will be performed.
Should we be looking to fix these errors?
Eventually, yes.
Yes. You basically go in, you do your edits. You'll use topology where it's needed to check for your spatial issues. You can use this tool called Data Reviewer to do some spatial aspects as well, but it gives you a lot more other capabilities. And so you go in, you clean up, you do your edits, then you do your QC on your data. And this is a QC.
Right, because I mean, it's a QC tool. I'm looking at, okay, well, what do I do with this? I mean, I have no idea where, okay, it says, we got a duplicate geometry check.
Yeah. He's just showing you an Excel file. He's showing you an Excel file, and in a few minutes, he'll show you the tools on how to look at the data.
Exactly. So we wanted to show you these are the checks that have been configured, and then once we are done with showing you this Excel, we want to then show you your
okay, so these are the default checks. So correct me if I'm wrong. If it says none, that means we have no errors, right?
No. If there's no error here, written here, there's no error. So you have 21 errors here, 2 and 5, and then none, it means there's no attributes involved in the check or no parameters, like they're default checks.
Right. So
now that we've seen all this, Adam, Ed, is your team ready to get to work on the edits?
Yeah, let's.
Okay.
Let's
Yeah, I'm
let's
just trying to
open up,
follow the process here. Yeah.
let's open up the document also, because the document is something we'll walk through today in today's training, right? Because we want to show you this is your material for your reference. So, Adam, do you have the document that you can you
I
show
have the
that?
planning one. Yeah.
Okay. So let's take, for example, the planning data editor document. That's the quality control user manual. So keep scrolling, go to the next page. Uh, you have the table of contents, and in the beginning, we have some kind of general quality control information. I found a typo there, but basically, keep coming down and so that's basically talking about what are the different quality control processes and why you need to do it. Okay, so temporal quality, usability, and geographic, you know, thematic accuracy. That means which layers you put things in, spatial accuracy, where you put them in, completeness, and on and so on. So this is more like theoretical stuff. So we'll just kind of like pass through this. So keep going, Adam, and let's look at the next. So schema requirements, what's needed is that you should be able to connect to the data reviewer database. And I think on everybody's computers, we made sure that we connected to the data reviewer database that you have. It's called the check database, and we'll show that to you in a minute. And then we also describe what's the other quality control measures that are in place, like privileges. For example, planning cannot edit planimetric data, and then transport cannot edit like planning data. So those checks are in place that you won't be editing somebody else's data by mistake, even though you may be referencing them, or nobody edits cadastral except for the cadastral team. Those are the kind of checks and measures in place already, right? And then what else we have for quality control is your data reviewer checks that we're going to be showing you right now. And along with that, at some point, we'll touch on topology and how that works for you, which is also a quality control measure. Okay, so now we're ready to take a dive into the data reviewer. So Adam, do you want to show the tool and then how everything works?
Should we just go to an editor's machine and have them get set up? I
That's
think that
correct. We should do that because
And if we can
I
do.
know it works on my machine.
What I'd say is you do one transport, one planner, one transport, one planner, and then transport, whatever it may be. Where you break up the planners and the transport, because you got two different groups in here. So you start with like Alex Ramirez, then you jump to Matt Taylor, then you jump to Ed Lara, then you jump to Lisa Pierce, then you jump to Freddie and Sang, or whatever. Does that make sense? Or is that too confusing for everybody?
I'm good with whatever.
Yeah,
I think it's
whoever
better
wants to go first.
watch one person first.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's going to watch everybody. So, and it's what they're going to do is they're going to set you up with the QC grid. They're going to set you up with how to repoint the RBJ file from how they've set it up to. That's just called reviewer batch job. So you run multiple checks at the same time. They'll go over the interface. They'll go over the reviewer table. So they'll go over that with everybody when they do the setup. To some extent. So who's first? Alex? Matt?
Let's go alphabetical.
I'm telecommuting today, so I need to get into the
Matt. Then it's Matt.
but let me.
All right.
So that makes it easier then. Thanks, Alex.
Welcome.
Trying to make Matt the presenter. Just hang on a second.
I got a bunch of stuff in the way. Let me try to clear some of this.
As long as you don't move those 4 icons that you have in a row, we'll be good.
1 second, guys. Sorry.
Okay.
Also, it's a little loud where I am, so let me know if that's an issue. close this.
Oh,
Okay.
wait, you got 9 digits now.
What am I doing?
So, all right, just open up ArcMap. And you have the RBJ saved to your local yet?
This thing?
Yeah, that thing.
Okay.
All right, so you can minimize this as long as it's on your local. I just wanted to make sure. And then you can find the data reviewer toolbar. Do you know how to find toolbars? All right. So one thing you can do is you can use the feature count tool, which is you go to the data reviewer drop-down menu there, and then total feature count.
For demo permits of schools, even if it's not within like
Sorry, there's people talking like right next to me.
It's okay.
sign up on it.
Okay. So
All
that
right, so
happened.
this kind of, yeah, so that tells you, your total feature count in the MXD. So that total count at the bottom there, kind of like, if you're running your checks on your whole database, that's the amount of features that it, will ultimately go through, depending on how many checks you have. So it's something to think about. All right, you can
A
X out
million.
a million, yeah, somewhere. Okay, one thing we can do now is we can start a data reviewer session. So you're gonna push that first button that's next to the, that's reviewer session manager. Okay. All right, we need to set the reviewer workspace. So that's, are you connected to it? You are connected to it. It looks like GIS check dev at Matt. So you wanna basically look in that connection.
Yes, this is what we did when we were doing the pre-training for everybody. We made sure you need to go up one level
Mm-hmm.
and then find that.
Check, yeah, that's it. I think it's thinking. All right, that's it. That's good. So now you can create a new session. So every time you're going to run a batch job or edit your batch job or do whatever in Data Reviewer, you need to create a session. You give it a useful name, maybe like your version.
Okay.
Or your project name and say QC at the end of it, whatever you're.
Just go using the same thing that we were using during the
Yeah, and you can press.
training.
Yep. Go ahead and start.
Start.
And you kind of notice it now. It says end session. That means you've started a session.
Okay.
You can apply and close. All right, and we can add. Let's see. Do you have the QC grid on here? Can you sort your layers in the table of contents by just like by drawing order, I guess? In QC group.
Yeah, there is.
Can you open that group? Okay, you got the grid. All right, we're gonna click the last button on the data reviewer toolbar. I just want to see something with that. Okay, because there should be a grid in there, so you can right click in there. And then properties. And then you're gonna browse. And then you're gonna go to the edit view database. And you're gonna look for your QC featured data sets. Yeah, just click into it. And then there should be something called QC in this folder or this
Yeah.
database.
It's
See if I can remember the alphabet.
Yeah,
There it is.
no, I mean that's QC.
Okay,
QC grid, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
that's the one.
That is the one, but make sure you
Just
highlight
okay.
it. Just
Select.
highlight it. Yeah. All right, so you've already added the map, so you don't need to check that box. Sometimes if the grid was in your map, I'd say add it to box, but change object ID, the fields to label. You want it to be page grid in this case, and then you can label grid as well. And then click OK.
Okay, this QC grid has been around for a long time. It was also used in Cadme, I believe. It's bigger for where you don't have data, and it's smaller where you have data, like within the city area. If you see on the
This
left
is
side,
Mhm.
it's showing up.
This is the tile library system that everybody's been editing with Cadme over the last 30 years. So the big areas that go up into San Bernardino is really for the water, and the areas that go into Corona is for electric. And that's why it does go off screen. And some of these areas, if none of you guys have been doing editing in Cadme, so it won't necessarily make total sense, but we chose a layer that was kind of universal for the core editing that can encompass larger areas. So we have like a spatial correlation to wherever anybody's editing, they can all fit within that grid.
Yeah. So if you zoom out on the map like you're doing, you'll see kind
Hello?
of on the left side that a kind of extent indicator moves around. It might. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you cut
Can
out
you
for
hear me?
just a second there.
Oh, yeah. So there should be. You should notice. Okay. Do you see the extent indicator now? That's kind of moving around on the left side. It kind of goes with how you
Oh,
adjust this extent in
it's
the main
really
window.
hard to see. It's hatched.
It's hard to say. Yeah, it's hard to say. Yeah.
Yeah. no, I see it.
But that's there for you to use. But okay. So one thing you want to do now that you're all set up, like with your grid and everything, we want to see what version you're in, because the RBJ file works with version. So you can go to your table of contents and list by source. Mm-hmm. Okay, so test mat. All right, so basically, this editing database, you're gonna have in the table of contents window pane there on the right, you're gonna make a copy of this geodatabase and apply a version to it. And this is gonna help you set up the RBJ with your map document and your version. So in the table of contents window on the right side,
Mhm.
I'm not the table, the catalog window, excuse me.
The GoToMeeting little toolbar thing is in the way. So
That's yeah, thing's obnoxious. All right, go to yeah, you get it. Tell me when you can see everything.
yeah, no, I'm good.
All right, so now go to the edit geodatabase. You can make a copy of that and just paste it into database. Like right click, copy, and then paste it right on database connections folder. There you go. And then instead of writing copy there, you can write versioned. And maybe get rid of that the spaces, and I don't know if that helps sometimes. But all right, right click that. Now we're gonna switch that connection to the version. To database connection properties. Okay, and here it's it's hard to use, but you can find your version.
No, not that one. Yes, no.
Testmat 2020 1008.
Wait, no, this is the one that I just made. That's the one that I want, right?
You're signed to, everything's tied into Haritha. Haritha's the owner of all the data.
I think you're going to have to change it, right, to the.
There it is. That's it. That's the version you want.
Okay.
That's it. That's good.
We should
Okay.
check his data, make sure he's connected as him, not as Haritha.
Yeah, correct. So right now you see there up there, it's connected as Matt up there. See Riverside / MTail. Now, if you want to double check, right click on any of the layers and you can see the connection credentials.
Like double click
At the
on
layer level.
circulation current.
At the layer level.
Anything. Circulation current.
What?
Double click on that, or go to properties. Go to source. Go to the source tab, and it's you. You're OS authenticated.
Operating
You're good.
system authentication. Yeah, that's all we want to make sure.
Okay.
Okay, what's next?
Okay, let me think. Sorry, you created the versioned connection. So now we can, on the data reviewer toolbar, there's going to be a button with some green check marks. That one, yeah, the reviewer batch. So there's two buttons like that. There's the reviewer batch job manager. This is where you configure RBJs and edit them, and that's where you run them. The right side is where you run them. The left side is where you configure them, right?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so let's open that up. Good job. So now you're going to open up your RBJ, your planning RBJ. Okay, so now go to Workspace, which is the button on the right, and pick a layer that looks familiar, like planning project, take one at the top there. You can click and highlight that first one. Planning projects. Sorry, I hear a lot of backgrounds. Now click change data
Let me
source.
mute myself, sorry.
All right, now click change data source. And then find the that layer in your version view database. So go all the way back to
go to the planning feature data set, go to GIS edit dev, find the planning feature data set. Each one of those are feature data sets. Open up planning and select planning projects. Say okay. And say apply to all matching paths. It's going to remap everything based on when he defined it on his system. That's Adam, Mr. Skydiver, is going to define all this stuff. So you're going in and now you're remapping it based on your connection to the data.
Okay, it looks like that's done.
Okay, check the version column, please.
Expand the column. Go to, yep.
All right, good. All right, you click OK. And then validate. All right, good. Then you
save as.
Just save it, yeah.
Yeah, not taking. There you go. And just click planning QC. Okay, my job is done. Okay, sorry.
Thanks, Ted. All right, so you can't close this now that you saved it. All right, and then the other button I told you about, you're going to click that one, the triple check mark one. Yep. And you're going to add from file, planning. And just give it a second. And then it's going to load in. It's going to be in kind of look similar to the way it did before in the other window. You can turn checks on and off. If you want to run one check, you can do that. If you want to run all the checks, you can do that. Yeah, just like that. So let me show you something real quick. I'm gonna ask control.
Now, another cool thing is most times people don't have selected data. So you have somewhere in there, you have selected data. So now it's active. But 90% of the time, people don't have selected data when they're running it. So that will be grayed out. But in reality, selected data is pretty good to check off of. If you had a data across the city and you didn't have a particular extent, you could go out and query it and then run the checks just on that data.
Okay, so if I right click this, I can unselect all groups, and the top group always stays checked, but I can uncheck that. And if I just want to run one check, like if I just wanted to run this specific plan's official and valid geometry check, I would just check it like that. I don't have to do this and then uncheck all of them. I can just leave it like that and it'll work. But if I want to run all of them, you just check or select all groups. Okay, I'm gonna let you take over again, and then you can put it on the full database.
Sorry, what?
On the left side?
On the left side.
Oh.
Yeah. And then you can click validate one more time. Cool, and then run. It ran pretty quickly on our machine.
Right. Is anybody else able to follow along?
I am. I think I've been able to get to the same spot. Although I think I've duplicated the data twice in my view, but
I gotta say, I'm pretty lost, sorry.
Right, hopefully, because you're in transport, you're a street team. So if you're running the planning data, that would make sense.
No, I don't think he would be right. So we'll switch
No.
to, as soon as this is done, we'll give it a pause and make sure that everybody who is trying to do this has reached the same point. Okay.
But what are we trying to accomplish though? What is what are we trying to load here?
We are
You're trying.
Go ahead,
Go
Adam.
ahead. Basically, we configured a bunch of checks that you can use to run through your data. Anytime you need to run a QC on it, just like if you can set rules that find conditions for your data that you either want or you don't want, and if you don't want them, you can flag them as errors, and that's what we're doing. So we're finding instances where data is behaving in a way that we don't want, and we're finding that because otherwise what's the alternative? How would you find these?
So
You'd have to do a lot of
basically
analysis.
we're loading like a check routine into the system. Is that basically?
Yeah, exactly. It's basically doing like a little analysis that I do a lot of QC without data reviewer, and like I have to run valency tools and and I have to do all these selections and all this stuff, and this basically just eliminates all that. You just right.
So once we load it the first time, and then it's just a click of a button, or what or we go through this process every time we have an edit.
So how we switched to the version? Remember how we created this version geodatabase? Every time you're in a different version, you're going to have to do that version thing. You're going to have to make a copy of the geodatabase and connect with that version.
Can someone explain to me why we have to do that?
Otherwise, it'll think that you're using a different geodatabase. Like it doesn't read it as the same geodatabases, and it'll say there's the checks you're trying to run aren't the data's not in here. So it's going to say, would you like to add this data? And you click either yes or no. And if you click yes, it's just going to re-add all the other layers from the default geodatabase. Because right now, the RBJ is configured to work with the default geodatabase. So if you want it to work with on your version, you got to tell it, hey, I'm using a version. So that way it reads it as the correct geodatabase. Otherwise, it's just going to want to load on all your default layers. And if you made changes on your version and you need to QC them, you're not going to really get anything by QCing the default version, right?
so in
That
terms of
That makes sense. Thank you for that.
in terms of a workflow process, though, one of the questions I think I have, and possibly other people, is that if you're doing some basic editing and maybe you haven't finished the editing that you want to do, and would you create a new instance every week, or would you have to do it every time you're going to do a new edit?
I think it comes down to Ed, if you started a project and you're going to go in and you're going to add these streets, these curbs, these sidewalks along this area, and it takes you 3 weeks to do it, then in 3 weeks, once you're done with everything, then you run the check. And you only run it on that area. Don't ever do it on the full database like what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Do it over your project area, because we don't want to have too much clutter in there. Because I believe firmly on this from personal experience, if I have too many errors and I see in the data, it makes you, what's the word?
Glass over.
Yeah, exactly. You start to go, oh my God,
Information overload.
how much you lose interest in cleaning up your own data. And this tool is basically garbage in, garbage out. This tool is garbage in, clean, sparkling, porcelain out. So from an analytical standpoint, we want clean data, and this tool
right now,
check for certain things, but we only want you guys to check your projects where you're at.
and I'm running it on the full database right now because I want you guys to see errors. Like if I run it in a specific area, I may or may not get errors. So like there aren't too many errors with the planning geodatabase that I made with checks. There aren't too many errors to find.
Now, with some of those errors, are some of those errors going to include the changes we made? I'm assuming. Is that?
Yep.
If you made changes and they violate any of the QC checks, like if you right?
What
If,
about, but if they didn't violate any,
then they should squeak
Yes.
through.
they should, so it's not really saying, hey, this is verifying what you changed. It's just saying, hey, there's errors in the way you put this line work in.
Yes, for example,
sure.
I'll give you an example. You are getting data from AutoCAD, you're doing a copy paste, but if there was a line of zero length in there and you just brought it across, then that would be flagged as an error here, right? So
Mm,
then you go and delete that zero length record in the data. So that's an example.
mhm.
Yeah. Or if you're editing on your attribute, editing like data in your attribute table, and you press enter by accident and create an extra record in your attribute table without creating geometry,
Mhm.
and you forget about it, this check will find stuff. Like there's checks to find that.
Mm,
You know.
okay.
Or if you calculated a field and you think you got them all, you can either go to your table and look at the data and say, oh, let me sort this, look for it. Oh, there's an empty value right there. Or you run the check that will come back and say, okay, this field is empty, needs to be populated.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I don't know what I just did, guys.
All right, looks like
Uh-oh.
it finished running, so.
Oh, let's
Click on
Well,
Arc
click on
Map
Map.
again. Just
Yeah.
on the
It's,
bottom. Yeah.
There it
yeah.
goes.
almost.
I don't know.
Uh,
I got a spinning wheel.
when you
It's
when
okay.
you run this on your immediate project area, like Adam had said, 90% of the time you're not going to find any errors.
You're not.
It's just and that helps you not, like he said, not glass over on your fixes. So that's how we've kind of instructed everybody throughout the city. Focus on your project areas. Now, maybe the GIS team, like myself, Lisa, and Ken, we might come in here and look at everybody's data and do a QC check for everything across the board, because that's how we're going to help you guys fix some of your old data or whatever it is. Because we're here to assist that. We're going to be assisting everybody as much as we can, because ultimately we want to get to the next platform, and that's the easiest way to get. So
And the other reason I want you to do the whole database just right now is so we can show you how the grid gets applied to all the checks. You're going to have a bunch of checks, and they're going to span across the city here, and we're going to, basically link them to a grid that makes kind of this whole QC, like at least, fixing the checks. Once you find the checks, you need to make a plan to fix them. The grid helps you do that, and then this next process.
So
will help that.
when we first started to run this check, was it a parameter setting that the current view, or is it automatically
Yeah.
just
So there was those
run a
buttons-
check on whatever your
There are
view
those
is?
radio buttons on the left that said changed features only, full database, current extent, right? Selected
Gotcha.
features, right? So
Gotcha.
like we picked full database.
It's just kind of hard to see everything going
If
on.
you- Yeah,
Yeah.
if you have your document, open up the document there, the Word doc that we sent to you. We'll show you
Yeah,
where the
page-
snapshot is.
It's on page 6.
yeah, and the reality is ultimately GCS needs to find some checks. There may be some checks that at some point you're like, okay, they're just going after the schema that was defined by SOMAS. There's going to be some fields maybe that, we don't track that. We don't track that. Then we'll just remove them from the reviewer check. It may get to the point where you really just care about 5 fields. So we would want to basically check just those 5 fields. This reviewer job is going to really grow and shrink, and depending on what everybody's needs are.
Yeah.
It's
You might
not
have you might have like a certain RBJ for certain things that you're doing, if like you're, editing, a certain type of features, you might have an RBJ that you run for that. And then just like depending on your workflow, you might want to do different things, check for different things.
You might want to
All
run one once a year.
So these
get
errors,
Issues.
okay. So these errors are for checks I configured that you don't have data in yet. So basically they're empty fields or empty things. So once data gets populated in there, those checks will be okay. So you can just close this. So it's just telling you that there's no data in those.
Yes, it's done now.
Yep, it's done. So now you can go to the table button on the data review toolbar. It's the second button, reviewer table.
Yeah, I think we're still sharing control, so the
Oh, my bad.
cursors are fighting each other. Okay.
Okay. So you can drag that reviewer table to the bottom of your screen.
Okay, drag it and then hover over it, drag it down and see how the arrow pops up?
Mhm.
Drag it over the arrow. There you go, drop.
All right. And
You can do that with any one of these, the same experience as in Pro too. You can grab the title bar and drag it over those little arrows, and then you can dock it into your ArcMap. And then if there's one in the circle, I mean, there's one in the middle, that's how you can stack your panes. Each of these are called panes.
okay.
I'm passionate about that.
So can you do me a favor and pause your data frame? So there's a little pause button in the bottom left corner of the data. Yeah. All right. So now we have your data reviewer table open. We can kind of sort our checks. You can sort them by title. So if you take the title bar and drag it to the top left there of the reviewer table, see it says drag a column here. Just drag it into there. Yep. Click and
The
drag.
check title?
Yep, that'll work. So now it's all grouped by so this should kind of look like the spreadsheet you got because it has like the check titles here. Yeah. So this is kind of how I got the counts for everything. And then you can click the plus button to spill them open and kind of see them individually. And then you can highlight them. And then you can right click. Yeah. There you go. And then you can right click that. Right click on the bar though, like not inside the table. Okay, what's weird? Why isn't it? Just select one for now. I don't know why it's doing that. All right, and you can pan to, you can select and zoom to, select feature geometry. So selecting feature geometry is different than selecting reviewer geometry. If you want to see the reviewer geometry, you need to hit that paintbrush that is on the left there.
So what is can you explain that? What is the reviewer geometry?
I'm about to show you reviewer geometry. Just click that paintbrush and then it'll add it to your map. All right, so you can sort your table of contents by layer like that. All right, so you see you can expand the reviewer data set there. So that's reviewer geometry.
And you can unpause your view.
Yep, yeah, you can unpause as well. So basically, I'm gonna take your mouse real quick. The check environment. So all these tables and these layers in this check geodatabase are coming to this reviewer data set, either in a polygon. If you had points, you'd only have polygon errors right now, but if you add points, there'd be some of the point layers would come in, and then what they actually do is it applies a definition query based on the session that you're in and the phases.
Yeah, so basically every time you run a reviewer, it's going to go out and flag all these errors, and all these errors get written to that data reviewer feature data set. Your point errors go in the point one, your lines go in your line, your polygon goes in your polygon. And the reason you have that is you have this ability to browse your geometry. There's another tool that he may show you, may not. It's called Browse Features. And that Browse Features allows you to browse, iterate through one at a time so you can jump through all your errors.
Yeah, so I'll show you Browse.
It's important because there's that capability is in Pro as well. Not the I know these guys are only training ArcMap, but you're going to learn about this all in Pro too. And it's a similar workflow, so it's good and important for you to understand, okay, I'm browsing, I'm navigating through my 50 errors, etc.
Code is null. The error that we're looking at right now is the zoning code isn't okay.
Yep.
Now, is it unrealistic to expect that your, database should have no errors? I mean,
No,
again?
I mean, you should expect errors. Errors happen. That's why we have quality control procedures, right? We in the document we have mentioned how we are trying to eliminate errors. One of that is using domains for database entry, and then we have attribute assistant. This all of this automation is in an effort to prevent errors from happening. But errors do happen. Maybe when you were editing, something, there was manual data entry or something somehow overriding those domain values, or the domain or it could be anything else, any other error, like leaving a field null because or you thought you entered it but you didn't really enter it. Something could have happened. So
Right,
because
but
of, Mhm,
we're receiving this document, right? I mean,
mhm.
should it be our expectation that when we receive this document that it has no errors in it, and then, you know, moving forward, we should be keeping track of these errors and fixing them as we go, or
Eh,
you know,
You
we get
will,
this
from
in all likelihood, you're going to look at your data and you're going to have errors in it.
I think that's probably the situation because
yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna steal my mouse back and mute myself.
However, with that said, Ed, at this point, to me, what I would do if I were you is I would just focus on the next project you put line work in. Like we worked on Iowa yesterday. So
Yeah.
whenever Iowa gets added, just worry about Iowa. Don't worry about anything else. And ultimately, it comes down to what are the fields that are important to you? If we've identified 50 fields to look at and you really only care about 5, let's remove the checks for the other 45. Because we don't want to make it too convoluted for you to clean up your data. We want clean data, but we want clean data that's important to you, really. You know, we don't want to be tracking like, oh my God, he's popular. He didn't put anything in the comment field. Let's track it. Okay, there's 80,000 null values. If that important field, then let's not track it. You know what I advised to Cadastro already on some things? Okay, address points, street names, brand new field. If we run a check on the null value, then we end up with 80,000 errors. And the reality is this is just not realistic for us to go through and fix that right now. The same thing with storm or sewer. Hey, you got a bunch of null values there. Let's drop the rule for now. Let's come back to it when we get it 50% complete. And the same goes for planning. You know, there's going to be some things that, you know, I definitely want my zone code filled. I want my land use code filled. I want the description and I want the label. What else, you know, is you're going to already end up with your overlays. Your overlays are going to have a bunch of null values. So we're not going to check for null values, but what we are going to check for is that maybe our domains are calculated correctly, that we're not missing domain value. And over time, these rules will be tweaked to refine it and make it better, more efficient for all of you. We don't want you guys to spend, you know, I'm going to do some QC and then have it run for 3 hours. If it runs for 3 hours, even if it's a good solid check, I would advise that we pull that check out and we run that check once a month after hours. We want you to basically come in, do your edits, and if you can run the check on the data and it can run in 5 minutes, good. All the checks are good. If it
I mean, I'm looking at our QC, you know, table, and I'm seeing 19,000 errors. To me, that's alarming. I mean,
I think
seems like we need a cleaner file. I mean, I compare it to our AutoCAD where we run audits on them. It's like,
well, that's why I said, do you guys maintain TravelWay? If you don't maintain TravelWay, and that's not a cool area you guys are going to maintain, let's pull that out. I don't want you guys to spend all day long just doing reviewer, and you guys are gonna hate me in like 6 months. If you have too many checks in here.
That's too easy to comment on.
And the rules all make sense, then you're like, yeah, that's cool. We got clean data in, good data out. If it's all these checks that oh my God, I just every day I'm dealing with 30,000 errors today and 30,000 tomorrow. Who's gonna fix this? No one's gonna fix it. Because at some point you just get glassed over and you're glossy or whatever, and you literally just forget about all the errors. Screw the errors. We're just going to do the edits, and we'll look for just certain things. And at that point, that's really what we want to get to. We only really want to check what's the important fields, what you guys define. And in the end, when we,
I guess I need to understand what's causing the errors. So maybe when we get into our stuff, we can look at that to see if it's worth needing to clean up or not.
If you want, we can switch to your screen. Adam, is there anything else that you want to show here on this?
Did everyone see the browse features things? I guess I showed that.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
That's then where we can show committing to reviewer table. There's and then I guess you can talk about like the non data reviewer, like the
you also want to
flag missing features. There's flag missing features. There's moving features and review attributes and updating results. We haven't gone over.
correction status. You want to show them that stuff. So show
Okay.
them that and then go back to Ed.
Okay, that's what we'll do. Okay. So go ahead, let's identify one of the errors and then fix it, and all those kind of things, right?
So we showed how to browse. If you wanted to fix this, so these are just null values. So if you wanted to fix this, you just put the correct values in.
Okay.
We can let's look at that. So if you wanted,
Sorry, it's noisy here again.
oh, okay,
I'm
I'm sorry.
gonna mute myself again.
no, you're good. You're good. You're good. So I'm going to, yeah, go ahead. Tell me when you're done. Okay. I'm going to select reviewer. I don't want to select reviewer. I'm going to select feature geometry. So reviewer geometry, it's just going to select one of these reviewer features, and then feature geometry, it actually select the data
Yeah,
that
so
I'm reviewing.
to me, the workflow would be I'm going to browse the data using the geometry from Data Reviewer. And when I find an error I know I'm going to fix, I would then select the geometry of that data back in City Edit. And then I'd go in and fix it. And then once I've gone through my little project area and I fix everything, I would rerun Data Reviewer. And it would go out and basically say, okay, all this stuff has been resolved. And then I would enter my correction status, and I would email Ted and say, okay, Ted, it's ready to be reconciled, posted to default. That's the process I would follow.
All right. We should show them how to, enter the correction status and stuff though first. Do you understand about like editing and fixing the polygon? So let's
Yeah,
say,
we've had editor
so-
training, so
yeah.
all right,
if it means just going and changing the attribute,
yeah,
let's
just changing the attribute.
Yeah, I know exactly what went wrong with this particular one that came up, and I've noted it before. So it's funny that you jumped right to this one.
Yeah, there's not
Yeah.
too many actually in this RBJ. There's not too many errors. I think there's only like 100.
This is one that was corrected, Matt, a couple of times, and it keeps seeming to reappear.
Now, when
Yeah.
we get to production, it will be fixed, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah, it had to do with. I know exactly what happened with this.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, go.
Okay.
Carry on.
All right, so I'll show you another tool we can use is if you find something like in a visual QC that doesn't make sense, something that the remote, like the automated QC wouldn't check,
Mhm.
and you find something that just sticks out and needs to be changed, you can, let's end my selection here. I can select a feature with the selection tool.
Get that nice square parcel.
This one?
Nope, across the street. That one.
Yeah.
I know
Not
that one
square
has a
parcel?
problem too.
Okay.
I would also like to add a little bit of context to this. The context here is that, Matt, if you've edited an area, then Lisa would be checking, or if Lisa edited an area, then you would be checking. That's where the communication or the comments that Adam is going to talk to you about is going to play a role. Because if you were editing, you know exactly, you don't need to tell yourself that, hey, there's an error, I have to fix it. But if it went through, like, it's for sort of like communicating between different editors or the QC, we call it the QC editor versus the GIS editor.
And for Adam, you want to select the one you just unselected. You want to select the zoning, not the parcel. So he'd be cleaning up the zone code or GP for that
Right.
parcel.
Yeah.
Okay, good point. All right. Okay.
So we call this visual QC or manual QC because the RBJ file is your, it's a way to find out like automatic errors. But as an editor, your data best, and you might find things that are not covered by those checks. And
Right. I was just thinking about that. Like, okay, so you could edit a feature and the edit that you make is technically correct, but you changed it to the wrong zoning. Or
exactly. It's
Yeah.
part of your domain list, yes, but it's not the correct value.
So let's
Yeah.
say you find.
Go
So
ahead.
let's say
I'm sorry.
So let's say you find a polygon that, or any feature that you want to add to your reviewer flag and add to your reviewer table for whatever reason. You would select it, make sure it's the only one selected, and then you'd press this button that looks like you're adding a selected feature to a reviewer table. commit to reviewer table. Then you have these options here. You can say, you can pick any of them or you can make a custom one. Let's see, custom, we'll say.
And we should be able to change some of these settings we can change. So we get to the point where like, okay, we want to do just a rename or a recalc. It needs to be a new value. It's a wrong value or whatever it may be. Something like that. There's some of these little settings, these little drop downs that he'll show you when he shows you the flag.
Can you guys hear me?
To the right, we can change some of those values too.
Can you guys hear me? I like froze for like a good while there.
Yeah, you're back.
All right. So change zone code, and you can put a severity if you want.
Okay.
Click OK. Let me just spill this close. Fill that up. Let's see. Commit to reviewer table. Here's your check you just added. And if you can update the symbology if you want. Yes, please. There you go. It's added. So now that's how you commit things to a reviewer table if you're going through and needed to do that. If you find something that needs like a missing feature or something like that, let's say like these are deeds, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you'd ever find a deed that needs to be somewhere when it's not, but if you did, there's this flag missing feature tool. And it's basically similar to this commit to reviewer table. You just don't need a selection. You just kind of pick a point. So if there's like supposed to be some kind of feature here that is missing, you click. And it's a similar window, and then you can pick the layer that it belongs to. Like I'll just say deed. And you can enter reviewer status. I'll say add.
I don't know if you can add, I think planning data is all polygons. Those are all cadastral layers. So in the sense, this is an example.
I mean, I
you.
can't
This isn't really, this is just going to put a record in the reviewer table. It would say, hey, I live across the street. I know there's a deed here because maybe Matt obsesses all night about deeds and he knows all the deeds. If everybody has a question about deeds, they go to Matt. So Matt comes in, look, I need to add a deed here. You know?
Yeah, I can't think of a better example to use this missing flag. So this is what you get.
Fine as an illustration.
All right, so I'm gonna click OK. All right, and then commit to reviewer table. Did it work? Missing feature. There it is. And then I can update. Now you see what the points look like. That helps. So now you can see what the points look like when they're symbolized. There it is. And now this should have a point data in it now.
Mm-hmm.
So
the same with like if you can show something in circulation current, then it will show up as like a line layer similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Let's see.
So what is the phase column?
Oh, let me see if what's next. We're gonna get to that next.
Okay.
Compare. We can show you how to compare version differences.
So what you could do though, once you get to the point where you go to flag it, say you go in and fix it, you would basically highlight the value, right click, and say correction status. And then you would tell.
So yeah, enter correction status. So there's three different correction status you can use. You can automatically verify if you need to. So you can say resolved or marked as exception. This is like the next thing, but we'll go now. And then you can say per guidance or whatever. Like, okay, now it's green.
It's an exception. So
yeah. So if I didn't do that, and then I wanted to not automatically verify the result.
Yeah.
Say mark it as an exception. You can put some notes in there if you need to. Please fix whatever. Per guidance. So now it has this yellow designation next to it, and then if it went, someone came over and it's like, okay, this is actually okay. You can enter verification status is available. And then acceptable or unaccepted.
So this would be where if you went in and you tried to edit something, Lisa would come in and verify that you fixed it. Or Lisa edits something and you come in and verify that she does it. And then you guys, when you guys are done with that little process, you kick it to Ken and I and we push it to default. That's the workflow right there, in a nutshell.
Okay.
And Matt, if you'd like to practice that next week on the examples we have to work on, I'd be happy to work with, like, take turns doing the opposite role or something next week sometime.
Okay.
Because I'd like to practice it too.
Yeah, I'm never gonna remember all this after one go.
Oh, we have to actually do it to remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it needs practice, and you have the document and the steps to walk through for all of starting from the beginning to all the way running through the checks and basically finishing up your quality control process, right? So you do have it in the document, and you can walk through the same. So is there anything else that we need to look at over here?
Yeah, I have one more thing. And so this is for Matt. So if you get to the point, and even Ed and Alex and everybody else, if you get to the point where you've identified the checks that Alex went through, but you're like, okay, I'm pretty comfortable with that, and I think there might be some other possibilities I want to look for. The big, the single checkbox that he has, the green checkbox on the right, just to the left is select data check. That's a way to individually look at all the different checks. So you could go in there and say, oh, I want to look at regular expression. And I need a regular expression, if I'm doing a lot line adjustment and I need it to be an LL or a character, a dash, a number, dash, character. And I need every single one to be that way. Because if there's a character, dash, number, I want it to flag it as an error. That'd be like a regular expression check. You can go in there and start looking at all these different checks and individually look at ones, and then you would say, hey, Ted, I identified one. I think this would help for this field, and then we'll go out and we'll build it for you. Or we'll show you how to do it, and then you can append it to your own RBJ file. That's if you want to extend it or keep everything the way it is.
Yeah, I did kind of have I was wondering, how are the checks that you came up with that are in this for planning? How are those devised?
So, one of the things we did was definitely we were looking at with you on the data during the pre-training timing, right?
Mm-hmm.
During that time, we figured out, okay, you wanted that zoning code and the land use, so that's the basis of that check. And several other checks are based on just your data generically, like this is a polygon, right? And then we see that it needs to overlay with something, or there are all the default checks up there. If when you clicked on that button and then you drop down, there were several checks there, right? Some of those checks that were applicable were configured for you. Adam, would you like to add anything on this one?
We could show them version differences, and we could show them how to edit RBJs.
Oh, no, regarding the check.
The different checks you can do.
Like, how did you come up with these checks? Was the question? Yeah.
I just started with the low-hanging fruit, and like just the basic invalid geometry and domain checks are kind of given for all the important layers, and then again, yeah, we went into the attributes that we thought were important, and then yeah, of course, just like checks depending on the nature of the data. Like if it's polygons, we do the overlap stuff, and if there's a lot of the errors in it, like transport and stuff, like they were just like like putting the sidewalk curb ramp, right? Curb ramp, like this curb ramp point should be contained within a polygon, a sidewalk polygon, or usually, so that's kind of just something I made up and put in there.
Yeah, when we looked at the data, we thought that these are the logical rules based on how the data is currently.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
That's good enough for me. I was just kind of curious about how you guys.
Yeah, so there's always like kind of basic checks, like invalid geometry check, like multi-part line. Like if you have a line, it's like this finds, records, line records that share two geometries, I guess, and they maybe should either be, they're each separate record or maybe combined somehow, like linked.
For that example, it's the Hawaiian Islands. Do you want the Hawaiian Islands represented as one polygon for 5 islands, or do you want 5 polygons for 5 islands?
Yeah, that's a good example.
And like the street data that Ed's team is in charge of, they have a segment type, and the segment type for a multi-segment or a super segment might have 5 or 6 lines that are associated as a multi-part line data set. And there's checks in here that will check. Are there multi-parts in here? Now, you don't want to do that with the Lucity because you don't want to break Lucity. But if you, but you do it maybe on the street data. You don't want to have Iowa being in the same line data set as Market. You want them as separate line segments. Same thing with, for Matt, you could do an R165. Theoretically, you could just do a multi-part polygon for R165. So you have one single R165 in the whole city. You click it once, it selects everything.
Yeah, some of these checks are really basic. Like any feature with domains in it, you would run a domain check on, and basically, if you have values entered in those fields that lie outside the constraints of the domain, it'll flag those. Like if you, let's say you have unknown, I guess unclassified, they use 000 in this example. Let's say if you put 999 by mistake or something like that, and that wasn't the way it was supposed to be, it would flag it, type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right.
Let's see what else there is.
Yeah.
There's
Go
duplicate
ahead.
geometry checks. These find, so if I had a bunch of points, polygons, or lines, I could run them through here and find if I digitize the line or polygon twice, you can't, it's not really clear to see. And I can do this between layers too. So I could have the first layer. If I had let's say, just pick circulation current, whatever. And then if I wanted to make sure there was no duplicate features with circulation current, I would just pick it twice, and it basically find those duplicate features that are digitized twice. And then you can use it to compare attributes. So if the attributes are supposed to be different, you can have it ignore it, So you can have you can configure these to do exactly what you want.
And then you rate the severity based on,
Yeah.
here's a check that I need zone code, absolutely, that's a number 1. But zone description might actually be a 2, 3, 4, 5. I'd like to have it, but I definitely have to have zone code.
Advanced.
It's just a way to manage your QC kind of workflows more or less.
There's custom checks too, or composite checks under advanced checks, and here you can actually pick a main layer, let's say there's really no good example for this, but
Actually, a good example would be specific plan against some of the zoning. That would be
specific plan with zoning.
We might be able to look at doing composite checks, Lisa, to check for zoning consistency.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Something like that. We just got to come up with it.
Okay, yeah, so you could, if you're comparing one layer to multiple layers, you would do that here. So this is already, specific plans you want to compare to geometry on geometry check for zoning official, I guess, or something like that.
Yeah, right.
And then you can do a relationship check, whether it contains, intersects, overlaps, touches within. You find features not in that relationship, or if they aren't, you want them in that relationship, and then you can click.
Matt, that you would have a better reality check about how this could work, but I think this is really a powerful way for us to get more consistency across zoning, land use, and specific plans.
Yeah, this is the check you'd use for that. And then, so attributes, you can compare attributes if you need to, and choose attributes to ignore. If you need to compare the values between those attributes, you could do that. And then let's say, okay, you did one layer and you need to add another layer. So this is, it's comparing specific plans to zoning official. Now I need to add another one. I'll add a check here, geometry on geometry. So, so instead of zoning official, now I'll pick my next layer or whatever that I want to control.
So Adam, how long have you been using?
Could you do this on just an area on the map? So you could just do it for a specific extent? Like if
yeah. So remember when we ran the RBJ and we picked full database?
Mhm.
So if you look at the document, actually, I'll just go back.
Yeah, because I just think this is a good example for a real world problem that we deal with.
So I'll add from file. This is where you pick the RBJ, right? My planning
Right.
RBJ.
Yeah,
And then I pick the workspace. So I'm in this version. And then, so here's so now that I have a selection here,
right,
this button's available. Selection sets is available, right? If I didn't have a selection, if I had nothing selected, this wouldn't be available. Like if I wanted to do just what was changed, like let's say I've made a bunch of edits and I want to just you see those edits, I would do changed features only and full database.
right.
Or if I knew all these changed features were only in my extent, I would just do this, But I got to be careful because if I change anything outside my extent, it's not going to check it. So I do full database and changed
Or you
features
could
only.
just say, I want to look for a depth query looking for all my R165s.
So Matt, one example that comes to mind is of some of the changes that happened over in the Baptist University, and with the specific plan, and that would be a good example where we could do a consistency check just to learn how to use this tool as an example.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, Cal
Yeah.
Baptist.
Cal
Yeah,
Baptist, thank you. Yeah.
I would have to think through like what would we checking for consistency between, but
Well, because I did some changes for the specific plans to be consistent with I want to say it was the zoning update for some of the places and general plan updates for Cal Baptist recently. And it would be interesting to verify if they coincide with what has been changed in the specific plan.
Yeah, we can talk about that offline though.
Yeah, it's just a good example to test
So,
the
yeah.
method, yeah.
So Lisa, what you're going to do is you're going to, go into this tool right here, your review batch manager, where you set, this is the tool we use to set the version, right?
Right,
I could either open, I could open this one
right,
if I want it, and have these checks, and then I could right click here, do a new group.
right.
Yep.
And then my new
Best
group should be at the
practices,
bottom.
create a new group, and then add checks to the group.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So here's the checks that I had. The same way I was just getting them from picking them up here. This is how I add them to a batch job. So if I wanted to do, so you're talking about those advanced checks, those composite checks.
Mhm, yeah. And then I
you
name it, say, land use consistency or something, yeah.
Yep, and then that would be something you would ultimately define. You'd run it once a month or whatever, once every
Right,
6
right.
months.
Or whatever, right, yeah.
Yeah. And basically,
I mean,
you
right now
set
it's
your main layer. Like, what's the main layer, Lisa?
Well, one would be the specific plans,
Specific plan.
official, yeah, against the land use and zoning. Mostly
Land
land
use, okay.
use, right?
So we'll put land use first, or well, technically second, but add table geometry check. So land use.
It's
you had it there, GP land use official.
land use, yeah, GP.
Land use.
Would it be zoning
Okay.
more likely?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still
Zoning.
I'm still trying to wrap my mind about what kind of consistency you'd be looking for with Cal Baptist specifically.
Well,
Um,
because there were some changes to their specific plan naming convention, and I had to update the specific plan to reflect that change.
Not to jump in here, what I would almost do, or I'd sit there and I'd say, I want to identify all the residential-based general plan designations, and make sure that all the RDR, help me out, LDRs, MDRs, whatever they are, and how they relate to zoning. I would want to basically define depth queries based on this one in the GP, and then these ones in the zoning. And if they don't line up, or if they're wrong, basically flag them as errors.
So
Yeah.
there was an option there that
So residential plans. Sorry. So residential plans. You'd select residential plans in that, or you'd select the plans layer, and then you'd use a query to get just the residential ones as a start.
right.
Right.
And then there's also a split specific plan district name, the specific plan name.
hmm And you'd want them to compare those attributes, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
potentially.
which
I mean, that's an
which
example.
field? I guess I don't know which field designates this plan as residential, and which field that would be in.
No, that's not how the specific plans
Ah,
work.
okay. All right.
That
Never
would
mind.
be an example. It would be a different, it would be more to do with,
I don't
No,
mean
you
to
would
jump in here, but the way she's referring to specific plans and how they have consistency, the consistency is between zoning and general plan.
well, but remember, one of those also has reference to the specific plans, which.
Okay,
are
then that would
not-
be its own. Then that would be its own check. So
Yeah,
you do like land use. All right. So you wouldn't need a composite check for this. This then you can just do. It would be a feature on feature check, geometry. So basically, this is like the same check, but it's only done between two different layers. See, it's the same exact thing.
oh, okay,
Except-
right, that's more logical, yeah.
Yeah. So like if I wanted to compare one layer to a bunch of layers, I would have used that composite check. But if I only need to compare one layer to another layer, then just use this. And you
Right.
could use a composite for it and just put one check in it, but that's kind of just silly. So,
Yeah, that's cool, that's cool.
all
that
right.
makes
Yeah. So there's Esri. We'll send you a PDF that has all the checks kind of laid out, what they do, kind of like. a
That would be
description.
helpful.
Yeah, it's an Esri document. I have it. It's actually on your server, but I'll send it to you guys. Let's see. Okay, we compare version differences, right? Now that you guys know how to add a check, right? Oh yeah, if I just wanted to create a new RBJ, same thing. I just go in here, new group, add check, domain check. And then I could save as, and then this would be a new RBJ that I'm creating. So let's see, version differences. So if I want to, check my differences between this version and the default, I could click here, version differences, and then select workspace. And then compare version to probably the default or the training default. I guess I'll just do the training default for now. Review. So I can select have these features selected, or I can actually just go write them right to my reviewer table, depending on how I want to look at them. Version difference, you can add, deletes, and modifies. Include non-conflict differences. I'm not sure exactly what that does. Maybe Haritha can tell us.
Which one? Sorry, include non-conflict differences. Okay, that
Yeah.
one is only so if you it's for if there is a conflict, then it will show. If not, so that's what it means there. Conflicts are defined by when there is changes, like the parent version has changed, and you also change the same feature in this child version. And so when that happens, it's defined as a conflict. So keep it on in case, because we have hardly any changes, but if you made a lot of edits, then you don't need to turn. I mean, you want to see some changes right now. I don't know how many changes were made in this version. So yeah. You go by the object row then. And
Visible layers, all layers, including those not loaded. Let's do visible. We could do
Yeah.
all layers, I guess. And then if you check this box, it only do the features in this visible extent. But for version differences, it's like this checks what kind of differences to look for, whether you've added something between these versions, deleted or modified anything. So you just click OK. I mean, something should happen.
is there somebody a dialog box that pops up somewhere else, or?
It should be writing them to I select to write them to the reviewer table. So I should see a check group title come up here that says version differences.
Right.
I think it's loading, but can't tell.
Yeah, it's like a magic box. I think this is interesting. I've actually never, of any tool in the data reviewer, I can say that I probably have never really run this. So it'll be interesting to see what
That makes
shows
two
up.
of us.
Yeah, I mean, we run version differences when we look at your versions in ArcMap, but it would be super cool if we can add. So I like the idea of building topology checks inside of Data Reviewer, not to clean up the topology, but more for reporting purposes. And I like the idea of version differences because once I write it to the reviewer table, then we can track. Where I would use this would be, okay, we need more people, or GIS people, or I need assistance in planning for Matt because look at he just converted 20,000 errors, or need more help in streets because they've just gone through and done complete revamp of the pavement management system and they've got 900 million errors. That's to me where the value of some of the reporting comes in, because then you can kind of report on what not everyone's going to know what you guys do. And this is a way to kind of reflect that to other people. Hey, look, this is what we've been working on. That's what we used to do in mapping. Go back to the assessor, every year. Hey, look, this is all the topology changes we've made. Literally 30,000 versions and how many, hundreds of thousands of edits. And wow, you guys do a lot of work. And they did, We use reporting from within Reviewer to be able to reflect that.
So is that
I don't
done?
know if anything's happening here.
Okay. I think
Now,
that
click
I don't know
option.
if there were any edits. That too
There
is
it is.
my.
It's going.
Okay, it is.
And then also,
Wow, that took a while.
Adam, after this runs, if you could click the options button down at the bottom of the
Mhm.
table.
Oh yeah, so that's actually the last thing we have to show. So I'm actually following this document. That's the kind of order I'm going in. So I try not to get lost jumping around. Let me see. Yeah.
So this is what, if I understand correctly, this is actually going to grab and push out what all the adds, deletes.
Yeah. So if I guess this is just a check. You could look at this as just an RBJ, like a check that just finds what's different.
Yeah. Yep.
Essentially. And I chose to do this, write this to the, I could have done it. No differences. That's weird.
Yeah, because we didn't edit anything in that version. It's just the version
Oh,
got
I thought he
released.
did.
No edits were made.
Okay.
Or
Darn.
so
Well, that's too
that's
bad.
okay. That's okay. What I want to say is that there's another tool in the versioning toolbar also that does kind of the same thing.
Mhm.
So it's just
Let's,
available.
so this options here, you can generate statistics and reports here, or clear any selection you have with in this table with the reviewer records. So I can do that real quick. We'll generate statistics real quick. This is kind of similar to what you see right here, but we'll just do local data. This little text file. And then, here's the kind of the statistics of your session, your reviewer session.
Mm-hmm.
And there's your session ID and everything. And then here's all the check titles and then their frequency. So you can use this. This is what I kind of put into the Excel spreadsheet with the totals there.
Yeah.
That was their account column.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant to say. And I think that's really all I have.
Can we set up Ed now on that, and then I'll show topology after that, so that we will make sure that everybody is kind of able to work on it. So Lisa, do you have any questions on this? Are you able to follow along? Are you able to have all of this?
Yeah,
review?
I will probably review it, physically, so I go through the steps. I had one step that I kind of missed in terms of setting up the right viewer. I was getting an error because I was pointing to a map that had been saved with Matt's link. So I had to go create my own version and then point to that. And I think I kind of got it done. But anyway, we can check on that after. I'll just go back through the material and try it as well.
Okay.
I didn't see, did you send an email with an attached training material for this? PDF?
In the
It's
beginning
in
of the meeting, we showed where it was on the server. So
Okay. Yeah, okay.
we'll show it to you again in a minute. Can we go to Ed's? Can we make Ed the presenter now?
Do I have to do that?
I can try.
I'll make him.
Okay.
I
I'm
was
not
just
super-
asking Ed's permission so that he can show the screen. That's what I meant.
Yeah, this is why I kind of nailed down with everybody. Okay, what are you guys editing? You know, because whatever you're editing, we're going to do QC on. So it's like, oh, well, I'm only editing these 6 layers. Okay, we're only going to do QC on those 6 layers. Oh, you're going to do 12 layers? Okay, we're going to do QC on those 12 layers.
Ed, would you be able to share only one screen, or
I didn't even know you could do that. How do you do? You can shoot 2.
How do you want to do this? Do you want to reshare it or?
yeah, maybe I'll make somebody else yeah, try to do it. Try to share again.
Thank you, Adam.
Excuse, what's that?
I said thank you for that demo for planning.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for your help there, everyone. It's a lot of information to get across, so it's like kind of stumbling over what I know, you know, and what I don't know.
It's
But-
really good. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I only just learned to do this
How long have you been doing data reviewer, Adam?
for pretty much like a month after the meeting that we had together at the office.
So
After
overall,
that?
it's pretty easy to pick up then.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit different. Like the interface is a little bit even. Like I mean, ArcMap interface, old school ArcMap interface is scary to begin with, but then like the data reviewer is like a little scarier. But once you kind of figure out like the basic bugs, like that versioning bug, like getting your like the reason we had to create that database with the version, the copy of the geodatabase with your version applied to it, because otherwise when you go into set the environment, you have to change each individual layer, and not this way. This what allows you to do it all at once. And it was like those little things were annoying, like coming in after an edit session or a reviewer session after not working for a while, and then trying to get it to work and it's not working. It's a really frustrating thing.
And
So-
don't double click when you're in the reviewer table.
Yeah, don't double click. That's a big thing. Yeah, like so. It was, like remember how when you're selecting, like kind of how like we're selecting records in your data reviewer or your attribute table. We were selecting layers or records in the data review table. If you
Right.
double click it, some glitch happens where it just flashes like 27 times or something. 17.
That's not very good.
Okay, I think that's the version that we created yesterday, right? You
Yep.
can connect to that version and say okay, and it's going to show up that line that we added. And so, you know, that's basically your map now, right? Then with the data reviewer, you're going to be opening up the RBJ file and pointing it to the right one. First of all, you'll be starting a session, reviewer session, just like Adam showed earlier, right?
Right. So first thing you want to do is confirm, okay, yes, you're connected to a version. So you know that your RBJ you bring in, you're going to have to first make sure that they're connected to the same version. So the best way to do that is to actually open your RBJ. So you can either start a reviewer session, like you don't have to start a reviewer session until you're actually going to run the RBJ. You can edit an RBJ and look at an RBJ and see what an RBJ has without starting a session. So that one button next to select data reviewer check, I wish I could. Can you see what I'm doing? No.
Do you want to ask for keyboard and mouse, Adam?
There's a way that I can draw if he allows me to draw. I think that would be better.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, because Ed, is there a way to let me draw on the top of the screen? It's like allow drawing.
There is. I think what you need to do is change your. Are you an organizer too, right?
I am an organizer.
Okay, so I think up there on GoToMeeting, somewhere you should have some tools too.
That'd be nice.
Mhm.
So I think Ed, at the top of your screen, if you go to the top center, there's like a little menu thingy that comes up that is hidden from me right now. and it's going to be like it's going to have some options, and if there's a drop down menu as well. Do you see it? Top of the screen, top center. Like you got to go all the way up to the edge of your monitor.
In the GoToMeeting window.
Yeah, and then the GoToMeeting window.
Dun, dun,
So I
dun,
see
dun.
your mouse is hovering over the toolbar. So go up even higher to the center, like all the way up to as far as it'll go. There you go. Keep
Okay.
going. And nothing pops down, like no menu comes down, no quick menu.
Let's see, hold on. There's drawing tools.
Drawing tools, yeah, it's just allow me to draw.
Oh, attendant can draw. Okay, I see.
There you go. All right. So you're gonna pick. Oh, all right. It's not. Sure. Okay. All right. Maybe I'll just request control.
Oh, it does show up with the drawing tool there.
Mhm.
And then you have to pick a pen because the first default is
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
So there's a
All right.
pen, and you can pick up a pen, and I find a
There you
pen here. Yeah, there you
Oh,
go.
let's see. Over here.
Yep. All right, cool. So now you can click open, and you're gonna look for where you saved your transport RBJ.
Oof, where was it?
Probably your C drive. Should be your C drive.
Yeah, C, GIS.
C. So underneath videos, so down here, I'll draw. Local disk. Okay.
GIS. Okay, maybe you did not copy that file yet. So can we go get all of the files that you need? Okay, this is where I can show Lisa also because she asked for it. So cancel
Yeah.
this out. Go to your File Explorer. Okay, yeah, this is where it is. RCGIS/GIS data, GIS videos from DCSE. And then in that, there is the planning folder, Lisa, for you. And then this
Yeah,
is
no,
transport.
I did find that, yeah, and I did copy it in.
Okay, so let's copy. I mean, you will need all of these. So copy that QC list, the file below that, and then the last 3 files at the bottom. Copy them. I think the remaining ones you have. Yeah. Copy.
Under the C?
Yeah, CGIS. You can paste it there. Okay, so that's how you get your RBJ file, and then you're going to use that in the map document. So MXT.
Yeah, the first time I used Data Reviewer, I was actually testing Haritha's RBJ on the wastewater or either the storm system, and I found it very frustrating. So.
But yeah, we have used Data Reviewer because we do a lot of like data migrations, data conversions, and so we've always run it automatic. That helps us with humongous volumes of data and for different projects really. For you, you know your data very well. So Adam, what's the next step?
So you can view what kind of checks we have in here if you want. But the next thing to do is to set the workspace. It's right there.
Oh, my bad.
Nah, it's okay. You didn't do anything. And do we have a versioned geodatabase connection yet? If we don't, then we're gonna have to do that. I'm sorry, I didn't tell you to do that yet, but let me see.
Go to the right side on the catalog. You can keep it open, right?
Nah, it won't let you.
Okay. Okay, there is a connection up there. Right click on the connection and make sure that you're on the version that you want to be.
I pressed the wrong thing.
Just make a copy of it, paste it, and then change it.
You can do that. and give a right click and rename that, not that one, rename that in the end to versioned or something like that, so that you know it's a specific,
Mhm.
and then right click geodatabase connection properties and then change the version. So pick the version that you're going to be like doing the quality control on. So if you keep scrolling down there, you should find it right there, right? University _ Iowa
And do you all
_
see the historical version? We're gonna have we're gonna have version tracking or history tracking. So you'll be able to go to a point in time. Click that
All right,
little
so what are we doing here? What is that?
So this is how we basically switch. You need a versioned geodatabase connection to switch the RBJ connection to the version all at once. Otherwise, you have to do each check individually.
Mhm.
So this is how we do it all at once. This is the workaround. I can show you why we do this if you want.
Well, I'm just curious. Is this something we're going to need to know how to do?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is something you're going to do every time. Every time you're working in a new version, you're going to need to do this.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every time you have a new version. So it's like, so if you're working in one version, you run an RBJ, and then time goes by and you're working on a new version and you try and run that same RBJ, it's not going to work.
Huh.
Okay. So can you pick your version in there? I'm not sure which one it is.
I think it's the University _ Iowa _ yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
We just wanted to say there's a different workflow, but that involves like 2 levels of versioning and all, and I think that's why it gets complicated on the versioning side if we choose not to do this.
Yeah, it makes you even like if you pick the version you want and you say apply to all matching paths, it'll just do one at a time. Like it won't let you do actually do all matching paths. It'll just do one at a time. So this actually allows you to set the workspace and the version at the same time. So we created this geodatabase that so like here, this geodatabase is connected to the default, and this one's connected to the version we just made. So now when I basically set the RBJ to this workspace, it'll also adopt this version. And that's what we want. So again, I'm going to open up this. See here, I can show you this real quick. Yeah, go open, transport. Here, watch this. Just click validate once this loads in. See?
No.
All these. Don't click yes, but
Okay.
click no. See, all these are basically all the layers that are in your map. They already exist, but the RBJ thinks they're in another geodatabase. So it's pulling these from the default. It's like, oh, this RBJ goes to the default. Do you want all these default layers in here? Like, no, we don't want that, because we want to check it on this version.
But not to pour water on the fire, but conceptually, we don't need all the defining symbology. If we want to use their symbology, then we can either accept it that those aren't all checked, and still you'll be able to run that check when we do the
Yeah, but if you add all layers, it's just running it on the default, right? It's not checking your version.
When you define it, it will. If you check out a version in your table of contents and you run the reviewer batch chop, it's going to run what you're pointing to in your table of contents.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't. We can allow. You can keep showing them this. We'll go over this. I'll go over this with the rest of the team later. But you could either just add the data like they said, and use the default symbology. I like their symbology personally. But even if you come across hey, there's these configuration messages, that's fine. Ultimately, we're just validating to make sure that it's just a step. It's just a process. When we run the check, it's ultimately going to say you've already seen it once. It's popped up. It says, which version are you going to run this off of? You say, I'm running it off of the University of Iowa one, and then it's going to check that data in that version. I mean, that's the way it works. But that's okay. Just keep going, Adam.
Yeah, I didn't have that luck, I guess.
I suspect to some extent, like I just told Ed on the side, to some extent on these version updates and stuff, there may be like little quirks with going from DB to OS authentication and whatnot. But Conceptually, when you start a session and you select that version, and that version of what you're going to be running reviewer on, it's going to review that version. You just got to make sure your batch job points to SD default. You point that batch job to SD default, then you select that version, it overrides that version based on the selection of SD default. Essentially, that's kind of the behavior. And we're not using versioning inside of data reviewer because we don't need to.
I think it's frozen. I can't click anything.
Is there any other dialog box that you were expecting popping up on the other side? Yeah.
Okay, there it is. All right, so you're gonna pick one. You're gonna do street sample point. You're just gonna highlight a row. I can do it. And then I'm gonna go, so normally you think you've just changed version, but I think it's because we set up the geodatabase with the version connection, you can just do data source and do database connections. And then here's your version geodatabase. And then it's a street PCI sample.
Planimetric.
Isn't this transport?
It would be in planimetric, I think.
Okay. Oops.
Can you go back? One more. One more. There, planimetric, not planimetric reference, one more. It's at the bottom there, yeah. Streets PCI sample, right? It's the right side, yeah. That
Yeah. Okay, apply to all matching paths. Then I'll switch the version here. Okay. There you go. You can click OK and then save as transport. Cool. And now you're good to run it. So
yeah, before
so
you
now
start
you want,
on, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Adam.
yeah, you want to enter a reviewer session. So you're going to click the this button here.
Which one?
This one right here.
Oh, over here.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Browse. And you're going to pick the edit one, or not the edit, the check one, dev check.
Dev check.
So go up to database connections, just one level up.
Oh.
Yeah, and then you will find the check dev. It's the first one right below database connection.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now what that is doing is putting up something, connecting you to the reviewer workspace in which you'll create your session. So all of the quality control that you do, it's stored inside by that session number.
So every time we need to do an edit to because we have a project, we're going to have to go through all these steps in creating a check dev and a session file and
Not
all this
every-
other stuff.
No,
Now,
not every
from now on,
time.
you'll just be able to start a new session or join a session that you already had by using this.
Right.
Okay.
But here's the thing, the quality control with data reviewer happens once you have finished all the project. So your project is not complete until you've gone through your entire improvement plan and said that it's you gotten everything either from CAD or you have used Kogo and then drafted everything or digitized everything, and until then it's not complete. But when you have even assigned all the attributes and everything that you need, it may take you like a week too sometimes, depending on the size of your project. And
Right.
once that's done, you run the quality control. Usually we say the person who has done the editing should not be the one who is doing the quality control. So in the transport team, you have many editors, so that's nice. So if some people can play the role of being just the quality control staff, and then some people can be just doing the GIS editing. So, or if Ed, you are working on a project, you put that project in there into the GIS, then you let somebody else do the quality control, or vice versa. And that is recommended because once you have worked on a project and you really edited in GIS, it's really hard to catch your own errors. Automatically the software will do it, but there are some manual checks you might be performing. You may be, making sure the distances and everything else is correct. So for that reason, it's just a good practice in quality control that the person who is editing is not doing the quality control. And so that's
And the
where
reality is, when you start, you guys are moving to ArcMap from the get-go. So it's going to seem a little overwhelming to be like, I got to jump to ArcMap and do Data Reviewer. I think I explained this in an earlier meeting. The way we trained mapping at the county was we would train them how to edit. And they'd literally get like a month or even 2 months where they don't have to worry about Data Reviewer because we need them to focus on understanding the interface for ArcMap. And then once they get to the point where they have that comfortability with ArcMap, okay, now we get into Data Reviewer. And maybe that's something we could even apply for some of you guys, if it makes sense, where we can start to, we don't want to make ArcMap painful. We don't want to make Pro painful by having all these additional things you have to learn. But in time, once you kind of get used to working with it, it will be like, it's easy. I mean, I have 10, 15 years experience in Data Reviewer, so I find it's pretty easy. But hey, I just saw version differences for the very first time. That's the very first time I've seen that. Some buttons you just never click. And I don't, like I said, I don't want to necessarily overburden you guys because I think I'm stoked you guys are going to do some edits in the street data and trans data because everybody uses that data set, like in everything. And so that, to me, would the way I would say, hey, Ken, let's let these certain things slide right now for reviewer for Ed's team or for planning, because planning, Matt's coming into this, oh my God, you're going to make me edit just like the trans team is doing it. So it's going to be, I don't want it to be too scary. And so if you guys both, like I know planning, so it's easy for me to review a lot of stuff for planning, and Lisa knows planning, but we don't know necessarily anything about trans. So maybe we try to pick up some of that slack until you guys get more comfortable with ArcMap. But at some point, yeah, once you get comfortable with the underlying product, reviewer then itself will be easy. Then it's getting your head around the reviewer table. It's almost like in the way we taught other sessions, the way DCSE did it, they essentially did, here's editing, here's basic data reviewer, non-table, here's advanced table. The table is the more advanced part. So it might seem like it's kind of overwhelming. I assure you it will get easier. The hope is, my hope is that planning and transport are going to be doing Pro starting January 1st. The plan right now is to deploy both of you guys on Pro 2.7. We just got to test it out between the months of January and June of next year. So we're going to use ArcMap just to kind of limp you guys along to get you going to start editing. And maybe it gets to the point where some of your data, we could just move you right away to Pro. I mean, I was already on Freddie's machine. He's already set up. You can take all the MXDs that are out there. You can import them to Pro and set you guys up client server type capability. Data Reviewer is something we need to get our head around in Pro because I'm not an expert in Pro when it comes to Data Reviewer. So
there's a lot of checks that aren't available yet in Pro. Like
yeah. But in Pro, they're doing everything through attribute rules. So it's like there's a lot of checks that they're just like, we don't even need to process anymore because it's all being done as an attribute rule. They just look at things differently. So it's, And I think I used to complain about that at the county and be like, my God, I'm going to have every workflow fully defined. And I was complaining to Jay Carey. He's the product manager for data reviewer, like, dude, when are you gonna make this feature complete with what we can do in ArcMap? You know, and then they come back, oh, we use all this stuff on top of the attribute rules. But you got to get your head around Arcade, setting up attribute rules. So, and that's why I said you guys don't have a ton of rules in data reviewer. So your workflows are going to be way easier to move forward to the next platform. And you're still just going to be client server, going to be Pro connecting to an SDE database. But like I said, even in Pro, you're still going to just have to kind of get used to the interface, just like you will in ArcMap. Fortunately, you guys won't be in ArcMap as long as Electric, if you can look at that as a positive thing. And if you need any help on anything, talk to Lisa. She's an expert now. She's gone through training.
Yeah, that's great.
Her and Ken and me will be glad to assist in any way we can, because we definitely don't want to make this scary. Overwhelming.
And Ed's team, I would have also offered the same thing I offered to Matt, in that I need to get to know this better as well. So I'm happy to do a joint training with one of your staff and just see if we can take turns. One person does an edit and then I do a check, and then I do an edit and you do a check. So we can kind of get our head around it together. And that way we're also learning both parts, but also becoming more familiar with the different aspects of creating the versions. That brings up one question I have for the team there. When someone creates an edit, and I'm doing a check on it, am I creating a version of my own on their edit?
No.
Or do they create it? They create a check first.
Essentially, what you would do is you just check out their session. Well, okay, no, take that back. So when we get into the point of, and this is something that this causes, this is interesting. So this is a giant paradigm that we have to get our heads around. In the utility space, we've defined everybody, when you create a version, you have to create a protected version. What that means is only Alex can edit Alex. I can, but Lisa can't. Lisa can't go into Alex's version and actually do any reviewer on it to help him out. Only way that would work is Alex's version would be public, which we haven't told everybody to create. We told everybody to create protected. And so in a public version environment, they could do something, Lisa, and then you could go in there and assist with them and running reviewer checks on the data. Now, I know we said to go protected with everything. We just kind of reinforced the idea that we don't want Matt to go in there and start editing cadastral data. Now, the only positive thing in all this is that Matt doesn't have edit rights to cadastral, and the cadastral team doesn't have edit rights to the street team. Everybody has their own little feature data set that they live in. So conceptually, everybody could have a public version, because only the people on Ed's team are going to be editing Planimetric. No one else will be. Now Chris could actually go in there and add something to Alex's stuff, but if Chris is helping out Alex, fine, that's great. That's that whole collaborative idea that you can do with versions. But Chris won't be able to go in there and edit anything in Matt's stuff. It's because he doesn't actually have edit rights. He doesn't have insert, update, delete rights on Matt's data, or Matt having it on Elijah's data. Everybody has their own little silo in the edit space. In the math space, everybody has the same rights to everything. Select rights. So that's one way.
I guess that brings up the question, Ted, is it possible to have the editing be private, but the checks that they create be shared in public, so we could
They
run?
are. So you can create a session, and you should be able to go out and start a session by someone else, so you can see what they did. So as the QC person, as the SD admin, that's exactly what I'm going to do. As soon as everybody, or this is what Ken's going to be doing, because I'm going to be doing other fun stuff. Ken's going to do this. So Ken's going to go in and look at the session, and he'll start on that session and then run a batch job, essentially, basically go in and verify that everything's been fixed, and then rerun it based on that area. That's kind of the idea of why we really want to do versions based on areas, because we could conceptually just go into that area, to that neighborhood, and just run it on the whole neighborhood. And then it would be flagged, oh, okay, they fixed these 19 things, but there's still 23 other ones they didn't fix. Then we kick it back to you guys and say, hey, you got to fix these things. But that's only for us to verify that the data has been done. So we're not there to necessarily fix things. However, in the interim, there may be some movement on that. And I assure you that my intention is to edit everybody's data to where I edit data and Alex reviews my data, or Sang reviews it, or Chris, or Ed. I'm never going to do CAD like you guys, but I definitely want to have the experience of going in and taking your street improvement lines for right away and trying to snap it in and come up with a better workflow, or keep refining it. I learn by doing, so I want to get in there and say, hey, is this the best practice of the way to do this, or is there a better way to do it? And then the same goes with reviewer. So we don't know all the answers. Like I said, I have a lot of experience, but that's not here at the city. And so there will be some need for us to be more flexible in what we define. Protected versions is one of them. We have defined, like utilities, we have electric that works with one workflow and water works on another. And the reality is the way they're kind of working, you know, hey, make public versions. Don't worry about the protected public idea. We can do that with Ed's group because he has 5 people, you know, and there's nobody's going to really be, hey, I'm going to mess them up and jump in there and mess with their version. I don't think that never happened at the county. You know, we had upwards of 20 editors at any given time and doing Kogo all day, every day, 6 to 5 days a week, but nobody went in there and messed with other people's versions. It's just, that's being overly paranoid on our part. That's me being overly paranoid. So there may be some flexibility of that in the future. Well, you know, we'll just play it by ear as we go. Whatever works, whatever is the best way, that's what we'll implement and that's what we'll follow. And so to answer your question, Lisa, in another long-winded approach, there's some flexibility in there in how we handle that, and that would be how we would do it based on public versus protected.
Okay, let's just move ahead with this training. Lisa had a question on whether we can run the quality control checks on something that we have edited, and yesterday's edits are present over here. If everybody remembers, we have brought some lines from AutoCAD into this drawing, and from the AutoCAD drawing into GIS, right? So the next step here is that we create a new version. There is new session, not version. So Adam, go ahead and show us how to create a new session.
I'd like to, excuse me, I'd like Edward to do it. Edward,
Okay.
if you click new there.
Okay, new, gotcha.
And you can give it a name if you want.
Yeah, give a name that makes sense, like, you know, your project name or something. Okay.
Mhm.
And after
And
you're
you can
done
click
with the
start
name,
if you're done.
right? And then you can say apply.
And close. All right. And now does he have the QC grid? Is his grid all
Yes,
set up?
we should have the QC grid up there. Go to the layers on the left side in the table of contents. Go to the top where it shows the layer names and everything. Yep, press that. There's admin boundary. Keep scrolling down all the way. Okay, maybe it's not there, but maybe we can add it along with
Yeah,
the,
so
yeah.
click this button right here. Yep. Okay, and you can right click in here.
In the reviewer overview.
Sorry. Okay.
And then
I
properties.
should clear out some of these red lines.
Yeah.
You should. I can't, but
Oh, I
Prop-
can. I could. Okay, properties.
yeah. Yeah, if you could keep on that'd be good. Go ahead and clear those lines out if you want.
Okay. How do you do that?
Just erase, I think. There you go. Okay, and then you can go to active grid at the bottom here, and then go where it says none, and you're gonna, or I'm sorry, you're gonna pick browse. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
and then you're gonna go to the edit geodatabase, not the
yeah.
version one, but
GIS edit dev, the
Oh.
next one. Double click. Then go to QC. So keep going to the right side, see. A little bit to the left, you'll find a data set called QC, yeah, right there. Double click and select QC grid and say OK. Okay, you can say add map. Hold on. Yeah, add map to the grid, check that on. And also field to label, make sure you choose page grid. And then label grid option on. Okay, anything else you want to do? Change this grid symbol, you could do that. There's the grid symbol button. If you wanted to change that, you
Oh,
could change.
sorry.
Right? You could change the grid symbol to, some other color or things that you would like. Okay, and then say
Is there any
okay.
recommendation here, or does it matter?
No, it doesn't really matter. Whatever you prefer according to, your color palette there.
you can always change it later.
Yeah, and then you can say okay. Okay. So you see on the left side, it shows in the reviewer overview where you are, in which grid you are, and the area that you're in, like kind of, highlighted
So
there.
what's the hatch here?
The hatch is the area that you're looking at on the map. On the map, if you zoom out and zoom in, things will change on that map too. Okay. Okay. It's telling you where you are, basically. Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. What's next then?
Let's open up the reviewer table here, even though we don't have any results yet. Let's open it up.
Reviewer table, where are we at? Oh, gotcha.
And then, just drag it down to the bottom. See, it's over here.
You can close your attribute. Close your attribute table where it says table. Yep. And then take your reviewer table and little bit, and then sort of like you see hover there. Yep. There you go.
All right. This button down here. This table properties button.
Oh, it's on the left side.
On the left side. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Too many of those things again. So
Grid. Yeah, I'm having too much fun with this thing. Grid. Tab at the top.
Grid tab. Okay.
Okay, and then cool. It's QC grid selected, page grid. That's the correct one. You're gonna link current grid.
Yeah, you can say link current grid.
And then no, you unselect it. So click link current grid, and then click OK.
Yeah, link current grid, right?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's highlighted. Now click OK. This menu is a little weird. It's like
there's no response.
Always...
It's just blue highlight. It's very subtle.
I'm hoping it works quicker if we do it before we have results.
That takes a little bit time there because you're kind of like linking the current grid there. There are some workflows where people actually have a parent version called QC version, and they all send everybody posts to that version. But that's not the workflow that you're following over here. That's why it's kind of seeming like a little bit painful when you have to do it every time. But in the beginning, if Ted or Ken does it for you, may save some kind of time there, and they'll be able to look at multiple versions to like iteratively run through multiple versions. So
does it typically say not responding like this?
it does. It does.
Yeah, that's right. That is an ArcMap thing. So ArcMap is the largest component object model application ever built. It's 32-bit. And you will come across these things where the data is just too much, the connections, whatever it is, where it forces this not responding. It will be a frustration for sure. I am so burned out on ArcMap. That's one of the underlying things why I want to move people to Pro. But Pro, ultimately, you may come across this with Pro. If you're processing too many things and it's happening too quickly for your machine to keep up, you may come across this as well. But not
I'm also only running on 16 or whatever gigabyte of.
Well, so
ArcMap.
it's a 30. So ArcMap is the 32-bit app. So in the old space, most people just had 4 gigs of RAM, 1 gig for your OS, 3 gigs for your application. So if you have 16 gigs of RAM, it doesn't matter for ArcMap. ArcMap will never take up more than 3 gigs. Pro will take up 16 gigs. Pro will take
4
28
gigs.
Give it. So the processor power is what's most important for ArcMap. A Xeon is better than an i9. An i9 is better than an i7. The RAM, you guys all have plenty of RAM for running ArcMap.
All right, good. Now you can run an RBJ.
Okay.
So that's this button right here. All right, add from file. Transport. Okay, and pick your version. And if you get an error here, you know you picked the wrong one, but it should be fine. Just give it a second. Okay, is this the right one? All right.
Validate.
So validate, yeah. Cool. So you could try running it in this extent, but I don't know if you'll get any errors. But
No,
you
no,
might get one or two.
we have edited this area, and I think Lisa in particular was asking if we can, show on any data that we have. So we should run it on this area.
Run it.
Yeah, but the current extent.
Current extent only.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can say run. Anything happening?
Don't see anything happening.
It's working then.
That thing shows up a little bit later, but we said current extent only, so it should go fairly quickly. Just make sure there's no box popping on the other screen or something.
Yeah, no, there's nothing there.
Try moving that advanced editing toolbar over. All right, so that's weird. Yeah, minimize ArcMap real quick. Yeah, I guess it wasn't hidden underneath. So you can open ArcMap up again. Way right.
Do you have Pro open to at the same time?
Yeah, I do.
Why don't you close that down? Okay.
It's a lot of things, so that's why.
Yeah, it doesn't help. All right. All right, try. What the heck happened? Maybe try doing it again. You were right the first time. Yeah.
Can you zoom out a little bit before you run next time, okay? Cancel that out, zoom out a little bit.
Maybe pan up to the north a little bit. To the north, the other direction, please. Just a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you're good. A little bit more, just to get those features in there. Give us a better chance of getting something. All right.
Okay.
Now try that running that RBJ again. Good. Good stuff.
The other option is the changed features only. That's something that can be identified and running on exactly the features that changed.
Cool. So you want to try running this, Haritha, or change features only?
We can run on changed features only.
Okay.
That-
So then you can click change features only, and then if all your changed features are within that extent, this extent of the window, then it's fine. Otherwise, you want to do it on the full database, so it finds any changed features outside of.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I got everything, but the project goes all the way down to university. But anyways,
All
go
right.
ahead
So
and run it.
no. Then do full database with. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go back.
It's okay. No. Just is it doing something, or is it loading, or is it running?
No, I haven't run it yet.
Oh, okay. So yeah, do that again. Change features.
refreshing.
Yeah, just hit refresh.
I think this is what happened. We have those layers invisible at this level, and that's probably why you're not seeing anything on the left side. But that's yeah. On you can either zoom in a little bit, or if you want to keep it at this level, go and change the right click on the street improvements layer, and you can make it visible at all scales.
All scales. Where's it say all
This-
scales?
Oh, are you on street improvements layer? Right click.
I think I was. Is this not it?
Oh, I'm not able to see your screen refresh. Am I losing something? I can't see your mouse move either. Can you move the mouse? Mm, I don't see anything change on the screen.
Oh.
Can you move your mouse, please?
Yeah, I'm moving it. Kind of. You don't see it?
Is everybody else able to see?
Yeah, you don't see
No.
that? I keep seeing the hand right there in the middle of the screen move all around.
No, he doesn't.
This kid.
Oh. Okay, I think we may have to, unshare and share your screen again.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
All
it
right,
got
let's do
locked
this.
up with the remote. Sometimes mine does that too. I have
Yeah.
to reconnect.
All right.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time in this new world we're in. And Ken, it happens to him 15 times a day.
Maybe not quite that many, but quite a few.
Yeah.
Anyone?
Mm, are you moving Are you moving the mouse?
Yeah. Do you see my screen?
Yeah. I can see Ed just sitting there going, I'm going to keep the hand right there in the middle. Keep moving.
Okay, now we see it.
Okay, there we
Yes, now we
You
see
see
it.
You see my hand?
Yes, we see it.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, right click on that layer, please, so that it's visible everywhere, just to be sure, right? Open it, go to the properties. Oh, there's a lag. I'm sure you already did that, but
go. You're at City Hall right now, right, Ed?
Yeah.
maybe just a network. Obviously, there's a network problem.
Yeah, it's a network reviewing the graphics through our share here.
Yeah.
There is a lag.
You can clear the scale range.
Clear the scale range?
Mhm.
All right.
Okay, now you see it at every this thing. So let's go back
Yeah.
to where we had the data. You know, that's where we got in the new data yesterday, right? So now
All right. Do this again.
it's good practice. Now you know
Yeah.
already. You can say current extent and don't check on changed features. Let it do it, and we'll see what we
Okay.
find, right?
All right. Do I
One,
get to validate all
yeah,
again?
validate all.
All right.
Okay,
So
validate
we're
it
good?
with no configuration errors, and you can say current extent run.
Nothing. Now,
Okay.
yesterday we made the edits,
No, I mean it should show something. It should show something
but
spinning.
didn't we approve the edits, or does that matter?
No, we didn't say changed features only. I think this time we did not say changed features only, but I'm saying that something should show up on your screen. Can you give a right on your ArcMap where your ArcMap icon is at the bottom? Can you like hover there and see if you find one more dialog box in the back or
Mhm.
something? It's almost like it's just not working on your computer. That's what
I only
it
see.
feels. Yeah. Okay, let's try one more thing then.
Oh, looks like I don't have to do it. All right.
Yeah, one more thing we can do is
Now
just
what?
go and select a data check down there from your data checks up there, up on the list. Go up.
Hold on, let me give you back the. Hold on, you can do it. So where is it? Oh, right
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Select data check. Okay.
yeah. Drop it down and try to find a check that you might want to, sort of use here. Let's say you want to quickly do like a duplicate geometry check. Yeah, the duplicate geometry check.
Duplicate geometry check. Gotcha.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Press that, and then again duplicate geometry check again.
Okay.
Right, just get one feature class and then the feature class, maybe the improvements, street improvements, or curb ramp. You want to do curb ramp point?
Sure.
Or you can do street improvements. Yeah,
Just all of it.
yeah, you can do it on
Okay.
all. Yeah, and the feature class 2 again, curb ramp point again. I mean, sorry, street improvements again. Street improvements. Okay, and
Okay.
that's it. You don't need to check the attributes or anything. It's just you can give a name on the top if you want to, but I'm just trying to see this has to work. This is like, say okay, and run that with that button there. That one. Okay, say current extent. You want full database, current extent. We can say current extent.
Current extent. Okay.
Yeah. See, there is a problem with his session. That's why it was probably not running before, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else want to jump on?
I think it just I doubt why, if anybody else would be. It seems like there is an invalid object name session ID. So Ted, does he have privileges to the checks geodatabase to be able to write to it, or is it a read only?
Let me look. The street team, it would be for everybody, but let me take a look at that.
Mhm. So I think in the previous case, it had so many checks, it didn't even want to give us this message. Sometimes you get messages only when you're running like single check, so it's just a troubleshooting. Oh. Yeah, it may be more like a privilege issue. Yeah, does anybody else want to look at it before, like while Ted looks at the privileges and all?
Yeah, somebody else want to jump in? Freddie? Fab Five Freddie.
Okay.
Okay, Freddie, we're making you the presenter. And you can switch to your screen. I mean, show your screen. Okay. You are in that, and so let's create a database connection with that same version again in the catalog window on the right side. So take your GIS edit dev connection down there, copy that.
Copy, right click, copy.
Yeah. And then create the same, paste the connection in the database connections. Up there in the database connections,
Oh,
one down inside that folder looking thing. Yeah,
oh.
right click and then paste. Now rename that connection in the end to as versioned or something. Version, yeah.
Version.
Yeah. Now what you can do is right click GeoDatabase connection properties.
Oops.
That's okay. GeoDatabase connection properties. Yeah. And then go and find your version. So you'll find it by the owner. For example, you'll find your name on there. Riverside / yeah, there it is. You found it. Okay. Say okay there. And so now you have made the connection there, right? The other thing is you do have your data reviewer, but you see how it's like nothing sort of enabled there. So go to
Yes.
customize and extensions, and then make sure your data reviewer is checked on. Okay. Now you will see that, show up there. Okay. So the first thing, I mean, we can do is basically point your data reviewer RBJ file to that. Did you copy that from the location up there?
Yes.
Okay. So
That's
then,
from the server to my C drive.
okay, that's good. Then go to this the one with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth button after that, where you have multiple checks.
Oh.
Yeah, that one. And then say open. And yeah, open that one. Okay, go to workspace. Okay, now select one of the layers, all the way on the top, the curve ramp point, for example, and then change data source at the bottom, not change version, change data source. And then go to that connection that you have, go up one level, and that's folder connections, up one more level. Then find database connections on the left side. Yep, double click. And then that version down there, double click. Now find your planimetric layers by scrolling to the right.
Yeah, move the select data source to the right so you can see the data that's underneath that's selected. That top. Select the column, the title.
Oh,
Select
the name?
No, we just want to move this dialog to the right. So because right now you have a layer selected underneath. So see how it says select at the top. Go take your cursor up a little bit more at where it says at the I don't know what that's called, the top of the dialog. So where it says select data source?
Yes.
select left click and drag. So you just moved it, drag it off, drag it down so we can see. You're looking, okay, now you see underneath it says curb ramp points. So
Yeah,
now, yeah, so now he has to go, are you just gonna take them?
yeah, planimetric. It's in planimetric. So you'll find planimetric, double click there. And then you will find the curb ramp point. It's, I think, alphabetical. There you go. Say okay. Okay, just hang on 1 second. Apply to all matching paths is to be, yeah, and then say okay. Okay, just hang on 1 second while it should change the version for you on here. See that? When that's done, you can actually drag the above the where you see the version up there, the all the way up. Yeah, there you'll see display name version, right? Drag the version to the right side.
Oh,
Um,
drag this.
Yeah,
Oh, you want to expand the column.
expand it so you can see. Yep, that's your version there, right? And then say okay at the bottom. Okay, you can now validate
And you can also save.
and say okay. Yeah, no errors. So now save it to save as and save override that file.
Write this one.
Mm-hmm. Save it. Yes. Okay. So that's your file. Now we can also go and start your session, data reviewer session, and this is where we'll know whether you're able to do it or not, if there is any issue with that. So where you have that, you can either that green button there with the globe thing, check button, yeah.
Or this one, or
No,
this?
no,
Or this,
that's
this one?
one.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Okay. Now browse
Cool.
and go up one level, and then go to check dev, GIS check dev, and say add. Okay, now you can say new session there. Give a session name if you'd like something, related to the project that you've been working on, or anything that makes sense, sort of. Or you can leave it at that, but
Okay.
typically you would name it something related to your project. Okay,
Okay.
and then you can say start session and apply and close. Okay, so let's run a basic check. Let's not even go into our data reviewer and then try to run that. Let's just make sure that something is working here, right? We don't get the same message that we got for Ed. So drop down on that select data check. Furthermore,
right here.
yeah, drop down on that, and then go to duplicate geometry checks, maybe duplicate geometry check, then go and choose a layer down there in that feature class subtype. Give a name if
Oh,
you wanted to. You can just give a name there up on the top, check title.
Do we need to be in our
just
project
go ahead.
area where we're at yesterday?
It will be good, but I mean, if he's wherever he has made edits, right now we'll just run a simple check, right? Which is take a feature class. Maybe you can say street improvements if you wanted to, and then run with the same street improvements layer. Again, drop down street improvements, right? And we don't want to, this is a very simple check we're trying to do. We won't do anything else, right? And there are so many other things you could do, but right now, just say okay. Okay, hit the button right beside that Not that one.
This one?
The next one. Yeah, the one single check one.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, you can say yeah, current extent. Just run it.
Full database.
Let's see if it will work or not. So this is what we were expecting to happen on Ed's computer. Our check was very simple. Our check was to see if there are any improvement lines, but there were no duplicate improvement lines, so we are okay. That's why you
So
got.
in this case, Freddie, you'd be done. You say, okay, Dad, I did my edits, no errors. Okay.
Nice.
Right. Now, if there are errors, and we can actually try to do that, right? Here's what we can do. Can I borrow your keyboard and mouse for a second? Okay. We can, I'm just trying to replicate an error for everyone to see. What we can do is street improvements again, edit features, start editing. Okay. And for whatever reason, let's say you had duplicate, and right now I'm intentionally going to draw a duplicate line. Where is your, do you have a dialog box that popped up?
Yeah. Let me see. No, actually nothing.
Not yet.
No, not
Seems
yet.
like it's thinking, yeah. Okay, so what this is saying is just giving you a message that these are layers that you cannot edit, and you can say continue because you're certainly trying to edit the street improvements layer. At this point of time, we will go here and then say, we will go to this create features, right? And then we'll go to the street improvements, and maybe just randomly, I'm just saying, I'm just drawing a curve here from here to here. And then maybe from here to here, and then here to here. Okay, so editor, stop editing, save your edits. Just making sure we're in the version. Don't want to edit your default version, though you're not allowed to anyway. But so we have that. We run the data check. We can say current extent only, right? Though I have to make sure that the check has been defined correctly or properly. So that's important, and I hope I did. Maybe let's see what we can. Duplicate geometry. Adam, do you have anything else that I need to change here? Should I go to the subtype level?
Did it not work?
Nope.
Well, if it didn't work without the subtypes, it's not going to work with the subtypes. Did you just not get any errors, or
No
what
errors.
happened? I'm sorry.
No errors. Okay.
Then I would do it on the full database. Then I would do it on the full database.
Okay. But I guess my question is, do you have a rule for saying that curve ramp points should be inside these polygons?
Yeah.
Did you have a rule? Okay, you have a rule.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we should use the batch job file. I'll come back to this check. Maybe I did not define it properly, so I'll check that again. But here, batch job, add from file, transport, open, and make sure you select that version. Say okay. Adam, question, which of the checks had a lot of errors, like 9,000 something you said?
Let me check.
Anyway, I plan to just run it on the current extent, okay? Let's validate. No configuration errors. So we run this on the current extent. So in the background, that uh, Ted has made sure that everybody has access and privileges to write to that database, the check database. So we have 13 records in this area that are errors. Okay, written to the reviewer table. Say okay here, and now you can open up the review results. Does anybody remember how to get to the review results? Yeah, Freddie, can you show us?
I know. I got my hand raised. I know.
Okay, so that's commit to review table, and that's the review table. So click that, right? And then you can drag that. You can bring it down. Actually, it's more convenient to look at it like in a longer view. So use that. Yep. Okay, so what are the different errors that we got? You can categorize things by check. So take the check and then drag it out. So the check type, you see the check type. Yeah, drag it out. Drag the column out. Not all the way out, but just a little bit up. Yeah. So it tells you, it categorizes things for you. What are the different errors you have? Okay, so geometry on geometry check. 2 errors. One is the curb ramp point is not within, so you can see which ones. And if you do the paintbrush, it will actually um, draw them for you there. Okay. Hey, it did flag those lines I've drawn, so that's good. I did
Those
not.
are slivers or gaps and slivers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's true. So what else we have? So the if you give a right click, you can actually pan to those errors and then see what they are.
I'll zoom.
Yeah. You can zoom to the reviewer's geometry, or you can, if you want to actually edit the error, or fix the issue, you can select feature geometry. When you say select feature geometry, you will see up here that curb ramp point got selected. Then you move it, and then you can rerun the check and it will clear it off for you. Okay.
Okay.
So that's how you get to the errors. Then the other thing that everybody needs to know is, right now we are just focused in this area. It's probably one QC grid, right? You may want to, if you're doing it all over your area, you can use the QC grid. Like if you were to run checks in all over the city, instead of just this current extent, then you might need to bring in the QC grid. So let's make sure you have that part. This one doesn't have the QC grid, so we can always go and add it here in the reviewer table properties. Going to the grid. It seems to be there, but we just have to say link current grid. And it's highlighted blue there.
Yeah, it's going to take a couple seconds. Just be aware.
Just
It
say
doesn't
okay.
tell you like not responding. It just kind of works in like a frozen manner for a second, and then what you have to do is you have to close out of the table and reopen it. I only know that because I've seen Adam do it like 300 times over the last few months.
Yeah. It in all the trainings, and this is the same training that everybody got, actually, every team. First we show them editing, and editing is unique to your data sets, but data reviewer, it's kind of the same process for everybody. The only thing that gets added on for Other teams are something like they have geometric network and those kind of things. So for that, there's some special quality control. And then here we'll show you the topology after this. So it takes a few minutes. What it is also doing at the same time is filling up all of the rightmost column there. It says QC grid. It's also going to try to fill up that column for you. Ted, did you check
Yeah,
on the
I
privileges?
did, and DBA came back and says he has access. He's in the same role that Freddie has, so we'll have to go to Ed's machine on the side and take a look at it.
Okay.
Like it was triggering a ODBC 17, so maybe I need to check to see that. I tried to put ODBC 17 on Ed's machine who has Pro, so it's just something we'll have to look into. For now, Ed doesn't have to do any data reviewer. Yay! Freddie gets to do all the data reviewer. Yeah.
Congrats, Freddie. No extra pay though.
Nice.
That's right. You're the only one that's on video.
Hi there.
How is it? There's a lot of people on the. You're like, oh shoot, I'm on video. How many people are on the floor right now? Or are you at home?
Me? No, I'm at work. We have only one telecommuter right now, and Dale has gone home for the day. He worked only till 3.
So we're going to have a separate meeting on the loading of the street of all the legal docs. So we got to nail that down. The street plans, the record survey, all that stuff. We're going to have a separate meeting in a week or so to figure out what's replacing Bruce's work that Bruce does currently. Because at some point that will impact you guys. If they build, which they've added a new field for street improvements. So they have a workflow that they were demoing earlier to Cadastral where VCSE, they can add a check that would essentially say, once you populate the value in the plan check field, the attribute assistant will go out and populate the value that points to it so that you can see it in Laserfish. But we don't have a process to load data. We only have a process to point to existing data in Laserfish. So that's something we have to work on coming up.
Okay. So what we have here right now is that 54-1. You see that happening, like, because that's the grid and that's where all of our errors were found, right? So that's basically it. Now the thing that you can do is either like fix these errors. Let's take, for example, this one, the one on curbs, geometry on geometry check, right? What this error is saying is that curb ramp point is not within sidewalk poly. Okay, so it's a rule that we have based on looking at your data and then observing that these curb ramp points should probably fall inside. Is that a rule that's valid? Is that correct? Or it's not supposed to be like that? I mean, it's not mandatory to have them within here, sidewalk poly. It's a question.
Oh, who is that question at? Freddie?
Oh, yeah, Freddie.
Yeah, they can be within they have to be within the sidewalk.
They have to be correct. Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens is you can, you can edit it and then rerun the rule, or rerun this, or you can. So how do you edit it? In order to fix it, is basically go here and then edit features, start editing. As long as make sure you're in the same version and everything.
And we're gonna give the street team access to transportation. I just haven't done it yet. I'll probably do it tomorrow.
Ted, I had a question about this scenario where is it helpful to have the aerial imagery added that we know is more concurrent with the existing baseline data in terms of its referencing?
Yeah, maybe. It's tricky because Alex, what's the photos that you like? The 2016s or the 2012s? Because you guys, a lot of the sidewalk data and all that was generated off of photogrammetry. So one of them is going to be spot on. It may not be up to date, but it's still going to be pretty spot on.
Yeah, the 2012 used city control. The 2016.
Oh, maybe that's what it is then.
Yeah, it did not have city control. But
Oh, it
you know,
did.
you're also
2012
interpreting the projected space, so it's always going to drift with the different versions of
That's right.
imagery.
Yep. So when if we buy the new photos from the county, we're not using our control. So there's not a guarantee that it's going to be perfect for you guys. But at least it's air photos that are more current than 2016.
It's still kind of helpful to have a base image as well.
Yeah, no, it's still, I think it's helpful, but these guys are engineers. So engineers, like I'm cool if I'm 70 feet off. Matt Taylor's probably cool if he's 70 feet off. Alex Ramirez, he doesn't want to be more than 3 decimeters off.
I don't know about 70 feet, but
yeah, kind of a stretch, but you know, engineers are like, okay, I want to. You guys are just more. You guys work in CAD, so everything is exact. And Matt, and myself, and Lisa, and Ken, we live on top of your data. You know, we use your data, and your data is really good. So, you know, just like the surveyors are at the decimeter level. You know, hopefully. And having photos that are a little off, it can be, it's going to be easy for us from an analytical standpoint, but from an engineer, if the sidewalk is here and it's all been done through CAD and it's 3 feet to the left of where I'm at, then they can't use it for field inspections. Because ultimately we want to see about trying to put it out in ArcGIS Online so everybody has access to it in their mobile apps. At least that would be the hope. Or we have to build VPN for access in internal portal, which we have, but we don't have as many users. But we can always move them from ArcGIS Online. So.
Okay, I just wanted to like show you, like if you can go and enter a correction status, right? You can say, oh, this is resolved right now, you know, and then you can say per guidance. Okay, and it automatically verifies the result. So now whenever that changes, though, you have to, like, you can always replace the data set out there. Let's see the symbology change. Okay, so once you got, so people will, like, if say for example, Freddie, you found errors with somebody else's and then you send them, you know, this information, you know, they can go and fix those errors. You can revalidate them. You can go and check them again and see if they're fixed or not. Okay, so that's
Okay.
how you keep track of these. Okay, there's other errors if you wanted to go and check in and pan to the reviewer geometry. So there's slivers and all. There is sidewalk overlap with travelway poly. If you're not using travelway, and I mean you do not want to have these checks, they can be removed from the RBJ file. Okay, and you can save that RBJ file as something else and reuse it for checks. The RBJ file that we had, you know, for example, we can add from file.
Yeah, that little dialog you just saw right there. Essentially, I'm grabbing that version and I'm going to validate off of that version.
So if you think that those checks, if you're not using travelway polygon at all, and you don't want to use it,
Yeah,
you
that's
can
what I wanna-
actually remove all the checks that belong to that or turn them off.
I think Ed, to look at Travelway and say, you know what, we don't deal with that data. I don't know what that seems like a data set that might have been created back in 2010 for the street thing at that time. Because a lot of this data.
Can we go to like from our table, like where all those errors came up? Can we look at some of those?
Yeah. I'm going to cancel this out right now. But we just saw one. The other one, the curb ramp point, is this one, right? So pan to feature geometry, and then it shows you this is the second one, right? You can also give a right click, and then you can ask it to be selected. Select feature geometry, and you can see.
So that's what that says, that the curb needs to be on a sidewalk.
Right, the curb ramp point.
Yeah, that's a cool check.
The next one, I'm going to pan to this one. This one was saying that there is a overlap between sidewalk and, so there's an overlap sliver found between the two polygon features, which is the travelway and the sidewalk. Okay.
Is Travelway the big street? Is that the cartoony looking street pavement that we see?
Yeah. This one here, the gray, and I'll change the color just so you can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That's kind of, okay. Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
I'll change the color back. That color is.
That is great.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, yeah, it was maybe somewhere around.
So the travelway layer is just the hatch mark.
No, it's everything. This polygon here. If I opened up the travelway layer, and I actually select this one. Oh.
Yeah. That's the pavement. So it seems like we should have a rule. We should have a topology check that says we need to ensure that the curb or whatever encompasses or follows the boundary of travelway.
Yeah, that's why we have the polygon on polygon checks, at least for the sidewalk and the travelway.
Because in that one, when we were looking at Iowa yesterday, the travelway didn't extend all the way from one side to the other.
That's because we did a widening.
Yeah, what was it?
We did a street widening, so we put the new curb and gutter. We're adding a new paved area.
Yeah. Do you guys need any help on doing any topology cleanup like that?
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna get errors like that, I don't know if we just ignore them, or I don't know if they can just adjust to match, or because the errors that they're overlapping, is that basically it?
I mean, so there's right there where you have Merrill Avenue right now. You have that sidewalk, and then you have the travelway, and you have that gap. Is that gap valid?
Zoom in on that.
Because to me, I would come in and I'd reshape the travelway to follow that. That could be a right of way. That could be where they put trees, like street trees.
Yeah. No, the if you're looking like in between there, yeah, that's just the difference in line work.
Yeah. So I tried to make this check catch that stuff.
Yeah.
So you
I can help in cleaning all that up if you want me to.
There's something.
I would just use the align edge tool, the advanced editing tool.
That's right. That's all I would do.
Yeah, we can show that right now. Actually, to fix this error, right? So.
So is that basically all the errors?
Yeah. Let me just take control. Do I have control?
Mm-hmm.
No, probably not.
They're going to get into topology, and topology is the way where we can look at the relationships between different data sets. For planning, it would be zoning and general plan. For you guys, it seems Travelway that's a cool data set. Travelway, I'd love to be able to take that into 3D. If we have a
Travelway,
yeah.
So Travelway, I have a definition query on that. It actually, so there's the actual Travelway, and then there's the city block It's just basically a different, like the subtype is just a difference between a 1 and 0. So I have the definition where you're only showing like the roads and not like all the city blocks.
Okay, here he put it in a separate layer, the city blocks, and let me zoom out and show you both, and then we'll come back and see how to fix it. There's a couple of ways, right? One way is to so this is a city block, and I don't know, maybe I'll fill it so that you can see instantly, or I don't know if it will show
I
up.
would
Let's try.
totally, if you guys give me some direction
Yep,
on that,
that's the
I
city
totally
block.
will volunteer myself to clean up Travelway. Because
Yeah, no, for sure.
I can see that as at some point I want to take the whole city to 3D. I want to be able to have Matt's team be able to run around and visualize setbacks with buildings, but do it all in 3D. And then Lisa will build amazing animations. But Travelway works as a way where that's our road, basically. I get excited about GIS. I apologize.
No,
So-
no worries.
I will turn that Travelway off, the city block one, because it's going to confuse. Yeah,
Just let me clarify the area that we're looking at there. That's when I'm looking at the spreadsheet. That's the sidewalk overlap travelway poly.
correct.
That's the 12,486 errors.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can help with that. I'll help with
Okay.
that. Volunteer. I'm going to be so
All right.
busy.
That fixed that one. What about the street pavement condition line is not within travelway polygon?
So if it, are we going to show how to fix? I can't find your.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
edit-
Go ahead.
I can't find your advanced
Let's
editing
Jessica.
toolbar.
Let
Where's your
me,
advanced-
let me help. Just 1 second. I think I was that.
Oh,
Well, yeah, you can
There it
touch
is, there it is.
on the advanced editing toolbar and the feature edit.
oh, that's not it. I'm sorry.
You want the topology toolbar?
Yeah, I'm looking for that.
Oh, topology toolbar is down there.
Yeah. All right, here's the tool I was looking for. So basically I set it in here, which ones
There
I
is
want.
no-
But the nice thing about this is if we haven't defined a topology, we can always define a map topology. And then with here, you can.
You already have a topology, but for now, Adam's showing you with the map topology.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. So
Street
he.
improvements, right?
Hmm.
I'm glad. See,
So-
I love this. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm just gonna bring this. So I like this improvements line the best. I think it's the best line. So I'm gonna click this line and then I'm gonna line to that.
Boom.
And I could do this one, do that.
Boom. Yeah.
Could you put in another,
What's the pink,
vertex?
pink line?
Say it again.
Could you
The
put
pink
in
line
another-
is the pink line is the sidewalk line. So I'm gonna add that there,
Yeah, it seems
I
like
think
they
I
all
can-
need to line up.
just like that. Cool. Yeah, it's pretty easy once you get going. It's just the hard part, just making sure you have the right layers selected here. You know, just making sure that.
So Matt, this is essentially how we're going to clean up where zoning and GP need to follow each other. We'll do like in a line, and we'll just get that feedback, point where you need it to go, click over, and then it just snaps right in.
You have to do that like parcel by parcel or polygon by polygon.
That should take
Oh, yeah.
a couple weeks. Once you get going on it, it's really not. It's really fast.
Actually, I have some data map for areas I know where there's slivers already, but there's ways to find them pretty quickly, and then you just zoom to the different slivers and you go repair the different slivers. So
Yeah, we just want to be careful because, like I brought this up the other day, that sometimes things that may appear to be slivers are not actually slivers. It is
Exactly.
like that. So we just need to look at each one carefully.
yeah,
And
exactly.
this could be where you as the expert go through and just start flagging stuff for Lisa and myself.
Sure.
Just everybody know you're not alone. We're here to help. See, on that one, he could go and he could do a modify, and then he could delete the end modify on that line, and then it would,
Yeah.
that's another little button. He double clicks on it. Or
I was thinking about doing this.
yeah. There are lots of little tools. I mean, I don't think editing is quite as fun in ArcMap as it is in CAD. But when they started adding the line edges, the line feature tools, we became a lot closer.
Yeah.
I think you can do some amazing stuff with CAD, but when Esri came back and added these tools that Adam is showing right now, it probably halved the experience, where it became a much richer editing environment for doing data cleanup.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
this align edge tool is really nice actually, and you can like kind of, you're trying to make like custom like weird looking polygons for like whatever cartographic reasons. Like this tool comes in really handy. Yeah, but that's stuff I used to do. All right, well that's enough of that. So we could
So if he was doing that with just regular topology, what it would do is it would create all these little hash pattern dirty areas, and you'd have to kind of validate to clean it up after you did those fixes. Doing it as map topology, it shouldn't flag all that.
so Adam, can we run that, validate those errors again? Like see if this.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was in this
But you
area,
have to
right?
save your edits, right?
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So I think I think we just run again and it check for duplicates. You guys just did the transport RBJ?
Second.
Whoa.
What happened?
Okay. It just went sunk behind.
Did you
we'll
want to
do
run on
change
change?
features on?
Yeah, we can do it on changed
Yeah,
features.
Okay. And run.
And so when I start playing with the Travelway, what I'll do is I'll create some videos because I'm going to probably do it in Pro. Just like when I help Matt clean up planning, I'll use Pro for a lot of that because I can use the same database people are using with ArcMap. I just need to then show you guys how to do that. Just saying, it's.
Is Travelway, Ted, is that, how was that derived from Lucidity?
I don't know. No. I think it was created probably when they did the 2010 pavement management. I think there was because Cross Gutter. That was another data set that's an older data set.
Well, if you recall, I had taken and done a difference between this edge of pavement and the sidewalk layer to get the area where trees were located. And there's a layer.
That's another probably an analysis we could do with the urban
Right, it
forest.
would be interesting to bring that in and see how that would correlate, because it's kind of one of the tree groups really wants to look at that to see where they're having some other, if the trees that are owned by the city versus the private property owner are in that.
You generated a data set like that already.
That's what I'm saying. That data set would be kind of good to have maybe as a reference as well, but it also needs to be cleaned up too. There were some pockets that overlap with this layer.
So you're running a batch job on that check, but you could also run a topology check on that as well.
Right. That would be a good way to test it and play with it a little.
And what I'd like to see would be maybe would it make sense that, well, no, to be able to look at the travelway where you could see it broken up by pavement type, right? Because you have different levels of pavement, good, bad, whatever, you got your rating system.
I don't think that that's designated here though, with that line work.
No, I don't think it is. I'm saying from a visualization standpoint, it'd be kind of cool to set different patterns of gray or whatever on it from a symbology standpoint.
Do you have
I don't
these
know.
street
Yeah,
sample
I
points?
would probably have that as a different layer of different PCI markings, but I'd have one just overall like a gray like that, and then if we wanted to has designation by PCIs, because we kind of have that already. I think Lisa kind of developed that for us. That's probably something we can bring in.
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah,
guys,
I wonder if they went. I wonder if they'll go. I wonder if they went in and took a line and then did a buffer on it, and then that buffer became that data set.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that had anything to do with our PCI. I think that was just something graphically they created.
What we can look to try to do is in the pro space, we can see about if we can do some sort of for Ken, do a raster analytics to pull out the street right away based on the aerial, based on the pixel value. Like what we could do with pools or building footprints. We might be able to do that same thing for streets, and then be able to maybe, I don't know if you guys have seen those videos that Esri's done, but they have this one where they're driving around and they're using video, and then the video identifies all the cracks in the road. I mean, it's pretty over the top, but if we took an aerial that was fairly current, you could almost look at different pixel resolutions that would then identify something that might be able to align with your street data on what's the best, rating versus what's the worst rating.
I thought that's what Lucity did already.
It's a linear data set that they did.
Well, we had the accompanying photos. That's what the photos were for.
Yeah, they already did that.
But yeah, it's not like a linear foot by foot video though. It's just kind of interval pictures.
Yeah, I just proposed that purely from a visualization standpoint, to where you could take, I don't know, maybe take it into 3D and be able to visualize the different streets.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be something great. We can do it.
That'd be something where you take to city council and say, look, this is why we need what we're doing, because you're driving along on a road, you almost build a little, this is Lisa would help on this. I'm driving in a car and I'm seeing the road and then it gets bumpy, just to kind of reinforce,
Right.
the
problems basically.
It's a good idea. Lisa, if you can just have a draft of that by next week, that'd be good.
Yeah, cool.
Should we? I mean, I'm going to close this. Is that okay, Adam?
There it comes.
Yeah, go ahead. Or
Oh, well, it's still okay. There we go. 0 out of 5 records written to, because it only found, I think, 5 duplicates. So, I mean, I can close it and reopen the table here.
Well, I mean, it literally just found what it already found. So it's not going to write the rule twice because it already found it once. And so it came back and says, I found 0, 5 because 5 were there. 5 had already been identified.
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't think it removes the ones I fixed.
Yeah. You would have to.
I think they're kind of, yeah, you'd have to start a new session or delete these checks or delete these results out of this
Like, you
reviewer
can
table. and then
do
run it
info
again.
correction status, and then you can, refresh this. Like, you can say it's resolved. And that's where it will go.
It
Or
will
you can
correct
run
it.
rerun again and let it. Yeah.
That's fine. No, it looks like that fixes the problem though, right?
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't think we need to rerun it. But do you guys mind looking at some of these other errors? I'm just curious what those are.
All of the ones that say sliver check are all on sidewalk and travelway. Okay. Now let's minimize these. Let's look at
Well, no,
these.
I was looking at that transport QC list
Oh,
table.
yeah. Okay. Do you have that open here?
I have it open, yeah.
Okay. So domain checks is if they're not following the domain values in any way. Now that wouldn't happen very much when you're editing because you're forced to pick from the domain when you're editing. But if you got the data migrated, or if you had somebody else like calculate values in the data, then that might happen. Okay. So that's why these checks may be helpful in that case if it violates the domains. The next one is composite geometry on geometry, and this is where the street PCI sample does not intersect with the street improvements or travelway. So the street PCI sample points need to be either on the travelway or on the street improvements.
Street improvements line or in the polygon. I
Right.
figured it just had to be with next to one of them because sometimes improvements go off the travelway and vice versa. So I didn't want too many errors there.
Duplicate. Let me actually make this a little bit larger. Yeah, duplicate points are to check. They check if there's a duplicate one on the other, like street PCI sample point on another one. Sometimes it could happen. You're putting in a point there, or maybe even a railroad crossing, and then you thought you put it, but you don't see it on the screen for whatever reason, or it takes time to refresh. By then you have clicked one more time, then you get a duplicate point there. So that's the possibility, and that's why we have those checks. Okay. The same thing with the crosslane gutter, anything within the same layer duplicates. So those are all the errors that we have. Trying to scroll down, but so are there any questions on the duplicates there?
No, not really the categories. I'm actually talking about the actual errors. If you scroll to the right,
Oh, okay, good thing.
see,
So,
so the ones that we were just fixing, I'm assuming that was that sidewalk overlap, Polly?
Yes, this one.
Yes.
So those are the ones we were fixing. So
We also
I
saw this
think
one.
we saw
645.
that one.
Curb ramp point is not in sidewalk poly.
So what did that mean? Like what
That
did?
means, let me show you. That was basically,
That means that little blue dot is not in the sidewalk, it's in the white area.
yeah.
Oh,
So
Purple. I think it's
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
fuchsia dot.
maybe I zoom out a little bit, it will show up. Yeah, this is the curb ramp point one. Remember, I moved it inside and then I ran the check again, but I'll show you.
Oh, okay. So it was outside at the
Yeah.
previously.
Yeah. Let me show you this one here. This point here is sitting out, but it's not kind of here. So I'll actually turn on this and you'll see that X over there on it.
And that's probably because the sidewalk terminates at that ramp. So it's probably just showing the ramp, the sidewalk ending next to the ramp, but the ramp isn't getting a hatch.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's.
Shouldn't the sidewalk like maybe extend all the way?
It should, but then technically, if you're looking at from a when you're quantifying things, technically the sidewalk isn't calculated as ramp. But when you're doing the calc or you're doing your air check, you're saying it needs to be inside sidewalk.
It's something that came from our common observation, but if the rule is if there is no hard and fast rule that it has to be within that, then we can remove that rule.
Right, because I mean, if the sidewalk, yeah, I would probably have to remove that rule simply because unless we want to extend the sidewalks across it, but then the quantity would be off because technically you're not quantifying the ramp as sidewalk, you're quantifying it as a ramp.
Yeah.
It seems to me that you would have a polygon
For the ramp, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Or a subtype within the sidewalk poly.
Or it could be a sub, yeah, whatever you guys think is best. I mean, graphically, it should extend.
Yeah,
to make it look like concrete, because
right.
it is all concrete, but if you're doing a quantification of sidewalk versus ramp, they are separate.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's something to think
So
think
I don't know what
about.
this is.
Um,
But I agree from a graphic standpoint, it should be concrete. We should show the limits of the ramp.
right.
Yeah, I agree.
You
I
could do
agree.
you could do a ramp because it's a part it's a type of sidewalk, right? It's still a type of sidewalk poly. Like
Yeah, I guess. You know what? You're right. Why don't we just, I guess we could say, just extend all the sidewalks across the limits of the ramp and just
I
stick
mean,
with the dots.
sidewalk is not set up as a
there's no
it's not
subtype.
subtype.
Yeah, you can add a subtype field. Oh, by the way, we just wanted to let you know year constructed plan number funding source added on the layers.
Oh, good.
And
So do you think you
uh-huh.
guys could do that for us? Set up a sidewalk poly with two subtypes where we have the sidewalk and then we have ramp.
Sidewalk and ramp. Okay, what I'm going to do is in the sidewalk poly, and do you want the same thing on the sidewalk line also, or you don't need it?
What do you mean?
The
Sidewalk and ramp line.
there is a sidewalk type here, interestingly. Let's see what it says. I will not save my edits, but I will just check if it's got a domain. You do have a sidewalk type on the line. And the options are no sidewalk, pedestrian full, private, no survey, pedestrian partial. Could we add ramp to this one?
That would
Yeah.
be good, because then you could have a sub rule that if it's one of those categories, you don't have to worry about correcting it.
Right.
Yeah. Now this is not a subtype field. I believe this is more like a just a domain field.
Much easier, but I think to me, it'd be nice to have that in the sidewalk line and then be able to have, and maybe we don't actually have to have it. We don't actually have to build a subtype. We could just do sidewalk and then do a domain where it's either sidewalk or ramp.
For this
Yeah,
one?
I mean, now I think about it, I mean, I think it's probably, I mean, we probably should quantify the area across the ramp as sidewalk.
Oh, pull it all the way down?
Yeah, I would think so. Because I mean, if we're looking at linear footage of sidewalk going across the certain limits from intersection to intersection, realistically speaking, we have concrete walkway between those limits, and that includes the ramp. So I would think we'd want to quantify it as sidewalk.
Is there anything else that would be different for the ramp, like the material or anything? Then you would need to digitize, like, I mean, have a separate polygon for that. Because if the material is different, then you'll have to have a different one.
I mean, we could you know, drill down into the ramp types if we wanted to, like you know, we have several types of ramps. So that could be something we'd want to quantify, but I don't think it's that important at this stage.
Okay. The area is automatically calculated for you, correct? Or you're inputting that from somewhere, from your plans?
The area, I'm assuming, is calculated from the GIS line work, but
Okay. I see a difference here. That's why I'm asking. This is 5618 and it's only 2716, almost like half. That's why. See, this is square feet. This is definitely square feet, right?
yeah, I can't read it on my screen here, but
Basically, there's entered value and then there's geometry value. So it would be the same thing if it's built on top of parcels. We have parcels that their geometry square footage is X, but the recorded acreage may be twice as much as what's geometry. And that's what I think you're seeing here, is the geometry is recorded in your paperwork as 5,000 square feet, but the actual geometry is only 2,500 square foot.
Yeah, this is saying 2510 square feet according to the geometry, but in the area you have 26,000 square feet. So that's a big difference, huh? I wonder if you have several of those polygons sort of together, maybe. I don't know.
I'm assuming that's what
Is there
it is.
more Riverside Ave or street name? It may be Merrill Ave. Like if there's multiple Merrill Ave records. And it's
I
kind
don't know if I don't think there's multiple Merrill Aves or Riverside Aves. I mean, it's sure it's one street. I mean, there might, and it's probably just tied to, maybe it's tied to all the sidewalk on that stretch. I don't know.
Possibly. Okay, I think I can. You mean that one? If we got one here, maybe this one, and the other one, next one.
Yeah, select those.
Like it's an aggregate, you're thinking?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking.
Like the multi-poly, but yeah, exact. See, they match.
Yeah, I knew it.
Yeah. Good
So
point.
what is it doing?
So I think what you said was correct as far as like this is 26 to 34 and the shape area is only 2000 something,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Because you are actually
Taking the cumulative
taking
and
all of them along Merrill, and then so you would never, if you were to ask somebody to find out how much of sidewalk you have on Merrill Avenue, you would never sum up these. If you do that, you'll be like getting 10 times more. You would only be, yeah.
So maybe do a selection, select by attributes all for Merrill Ave, and see if the sum of the poly area equals to that
Right.
attribute value.
Right. Okay. We wanted to ask because when we set up the attribute assistant, that's one of the things that could, happen. But you know what? I think even better would have been, I don't think that is correct because there's one on the other side and there's one on this side. I think the one on the south side are the ones that are really, so if you searched by this number, you will probably see everything. Select by
Maybe
attribute.
the from location and to location need to be at matching each other as well. Like just the
That's
street name
correct.
isn't enough.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
and then
So,
then the aggregates will start to make sense.
yeah, I'm just going to say area square feet. Can't find that. Did I miss it?
It's on the alias, so
It's got an alias.
find notes and then go two above notes.
I think it's segment area.
Yeah. It's two above.
There's 4 segments. And if you take the 4 segments and look at the statistics,
Yeah.
sum is 26 to 32. That's almost exact, I would say. So,
Right, you guys are like sleuths.
yeah, it's
What?
pretty good.
The Adam and Reed are like sleuths, like private eye.
Oh yeah.
The
Yeah.
data.
Yeah, we kind of check data a lot. So, yeah. But, Lata, we had a schema change. So, just want to let you know, make sure that the subtype for the sidewalk poly.
Okay.
Please excuse me for a couple seconds.
Okay.
And
So
then you're
we-
gonna put a domain. You're gonna put a domain value in the sidewalk line. Call it, kind of flag it as ramp.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we need a sidewalk subtype if Ed says that we're just gonna keep it as part of the sidewalk. But I do think that from a geometry standpoint, it might be nice to be, from a domain aspect, I think it'd be nice to be able to block that off as, okay, this is the ramp area.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting where it says sidewalk line, but there's no sidewalk options, and there's option for pedestrian full and pedestrian partial. And this. So in this one, we can add the ramp also in this list. That's
Okay.
something we can do. Lata, just note.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. It's at some level you can always combine the sidewalk and the ramp in the poly to get the full area. Or if you at some point you want to say, oh, well, this is the area of all our ramps.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, however you want to handle it, I'm good.
once we build this out and get everything all going, then we can come back and revisit the ramps and start looking at what are the ramp types. And then there's a mobile app that you guys can use field maps for to go out and identify that. This is the little yellow plastic with the bubble stuff.
Mhm,
I think you guys work on all that, right?
Yep, we have to bring those up to standard.
Yeah. So you can start identifying all those.
Hmm. Okay, let's go back to that error table.
Oh, yeah, this one here.
Yeah, so we
Okay.
tackled
We
those
looked at
two.
this. You said this rule is not applicable. We'll remove this rule. The curb ramp point is not necessary. I mean, no, actually, we're going to be. You said you may add the ramps after this point.
You guys
Yeah.
are going to build into the data set the curb capability, and then essentially that point is now valid because now it's going to, because we're ultimately either the GIS team or Ed or both are going to build that. Like if I went in there and wanted to do that, I would use the air photos, and I'd have to have you guys verify it to say, hey, here's what I can identify as the ramp. If you guys had it set up in CAD, that might be a little, I don't know if that's too much work for you guys to go in there and construct that out and then bring those data sets in. Those would be the two ways where we could get that in there. And that's another thing I would want to me, I just want to help just so we bring these numbers down.
Yeah, right. I mean, right now, all we have is presence of. Would that be a whole new effort to try to identify limits of ramps and
Yeah.
areas?
So would you be okay if we went in and looked at that and said, okay, we're going to use the air photo to help construct the ramp?
Yeah, the air
Actually build it?
photos.
Yeah, it might be a little difficult. You got trees and some of these old neighborhoods and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously possible.
Yeah, well, what we can also do is we can also somewhat look at, it's not going to be necessarily engineering grade, but we can look at our 2016s, we can look at the 2019s. If we get the new air photos, we can look at those to try to get a different perspective. If we get the new photos from the county, I think we're going to end up with some pictometry. Pictometry is obliques where you can look at things at 45-degree angles. That'll all be interesting, but
Trees there. Yeah. That's why we go to Google Street View quite a bit when we do the quality control sometimes, is that have a Google Street View and keep spanning on that on the Street View. And
yeah, and I also need to load for DCSE, I need to load the street photos 2018 in the same layer that 2010's at. It's in production, it's just not on the test environment. I'll try to do that in the next 24 hours so you guys can at least see it. I need to do a recalc because we moved on the back end on the server. We had 2010s on FS1 and 2018s on FS2. Those are two different file servers. And now they're all on FS2. So I need to recalc the path for 2018s or one of the two. And then what we're going to try to do, hopefully I won't get it done tomorrow, but from a GeoCortex standpoint, I think they're going to try and wire up through hyperlinks to build like a little hyperlink field so that you can click in GeoCortex to see the street photos. I think that's kind of the idea, but I have to do that. I got to get the calculation done. I just keep, it's you guys are my last ones down the pipe, so and you guys are going to be the ones that will probably help out the most than the other areas that have already gone before us.
okay. I'm going to turn that off, but there's other things that we can do as far as topology is concerned. So this is one way of checking things and, fixing. Oh, we'll go back to your list of errors over here. The curb ramp points, we looked at them, right? And for now, we're not going to remove the rule. You can always turn off the rule but you're going to be only checking the immediate vicinity. So while you're working on a project, if you find something adjacent, you can always draw that additional ramp. We'll make sure that the subtype is available for you. The next one here is the sidewalk potential repair does not intersect the sidewalk poly. So we thought that if it says a potential repair, then it should probably be on a sidewalk poly. And that made sense, that rule, and that's why we have it there. But we only have 5 errors on that.
So what is the error? I'm a little confused.
It does not intersect. So sidewalk potential repair is not on the sidewalk poly. It's outside the sidewalk poly. Let me do a quick selection.
So
This,
basically, it could be like where it could be valid would be it has a ficus pertusa or a macrocarpa or something like that, where the roots have actually pushed up the curb area and somebody tripped, and then somebody flagged it as a tripping hazard. But not necessarily on the sidewalk. It would be kind of in the street, but there is no tripping hazards or right along the curb, or the gutter. It could be where these 5 errors are found. Because I think that's a valid. I think you see that within the city. You're going to see a lot of ficus trees. A lot of ficus trees have invasive roots, and those roots obviously push up the concrete. I bet you guys love dealing with ficus trees.
Yeah, we big issue all over the city. Yeah.
Yeah, to me, those are probably most of your tripping hazards in the city.
so I mean, I don't know. I'll have to check the criteria that we had, but basically, just wanted to show you one of the examples that we have. So this is not.
You could zoom all the way back out and run the check on just that check.
Yeah, I could
and
do
nothing
that.
else.
Yeah.
And
So
then that would-
What's with that sidewalk right there? Looks like it's coming to a point.
yeah,
That looks like a future
That-
project.
that's something you can
Yeah,
build a check
Point
that
collapsed.
yeah, you can build a check of vertices to, but this is going to be a little bit tricky to replicate. Yeah, because you'll have to specify how to identify these. But when you look at it, yeah, you can definitely see. Let me see. I go back to the
Easy
reviewer.
Google.
Yeah, add from file. You want to run this one check on the entire database, correct?
Yeah. I think full database, but
Okay.
right click and do what Adam showed us.
Yeah, we'll just do.
I wonder, does the control key work in there? If you click control, or it turns them on?
Control and just select the one.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I do have control on, but yeah, I'll just turn these off. Okay, so right now we only have one of the check selected. No other checks
That's
selected.
duplicate sidewalk potential repair.
So I just want to say the group, you can uncheck the group and just check the individual check that see how you have 2 check boxes checked. You have like the group check, the
So
duplicate
you
geometry
need to
check.
on under feature checks, 4th one down, that's one you need to check. Go 4
So you
down.
don't have to
Oh
have the group
yeah,
check.
okay, got it. My mistake. It wasn't this one
Don't
thing.
need that one. And then just check on the
So-
one side, just that,
Right.
and now see up.
Yeah, and that's it. No, you don't. Yeah, nothing else. That's it.
That's
That's all you
it.
need for one check. Yeah, individual checks.
I
Yeah, if you want to blanket.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you want to do all the checks together, like in the group and blanket it, that's what that checkbox is for.
So sometimes to build reviewer checks, we have to go out and break your data and make it bad so that we can check for it if it does inadvertently go bad.
So theoretically, this run that we're doing right now should come up with 5 errors, right?
Yep.
correct.
All right.
Because that's what came up when Adam checked the data, unless there was some change to the data which we don't anticipate. Oh,
That doesn't mean anything. It just means that's somebody that's gone through it, thought about, looked at.
Mhm. There's quite a few points to go through.
Yeah, this is the 841 I came up with. I think, Adam, the reason why it showed up 5 for you was probably maybe you ran it on the same within a certain boundary. It's possible.
Well, let's look at it. Click on OK. Write it. Let's go check it out.
Yeah. So say okay here.
Yep.
Okay. So
Remind me which check this was. I was in the bathroom.
oh, this was a sidewalk. No, sidewalk
Not that
potential
one.
repair does not intersect sidewalk polygon. When
Okay.
I did a spatial selection and I got like around the same number, 841. So what it's saying is this is a repair point. It's not on the sidewalk polygon. There is no sidewalk here.
There's no sidewalk there.
Hmm.
So it's
So does
almost
that
like
mean-
it's like the ramp. The way the ramp doesn't have a sidewalk. There could be
Yeah,
a
but why
ramp
would
there.
the error? Or it could be potentially the GIS isn't accurate as far as sidewalk present.
I have. Oh, wait 1 second. Pavement. Oh yeah. Okay.
Because there's
So
no
you can-
sidewalk
I got-
traffic. Like
I got 6,000 errors actually. Curb ramp point.
6,000.
Yeah, that's what I wrote
This
in my.
is-
That's what I wrote in my spreadsheet.
This is not curb ramp point. This is a sidewalk potential repair. Does not intersect
Oh, okay.
sidewalk. Yeah.
Can you turn on the air photos that we have in here?
Yeah.
And we also published a bunch of years. As
Yeah, there's sidewalk.
Clearly wrong. Yeah, clearly.
So this check I guess goes both ways.
Yeah. That's Ken's gonna be working on that next week. Not just kidding.
I don't know about that.
Good job,
I
Ken.
mean, you look at it. You even in the median. Would you guys count that side as sidewalk?
This one here.
Well, my guess is it's ramping up to a landing, then coming back down. So it's probably a combination of 2 ramps on each side with a piece of sidewalk in between.
But to me, that's concrete.
Yeah, it
there
is
should be a line there, I would think.
Yeah, no, for sure. That is concrete.
Yeah, you would consider
mine
this a
exactly.
ramp
I
sidewalk.
My guess is that I would probably say that's 2 ramps, one on either side, and then a piece of sidewalk in between.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
So it's a valid check then. It's gonna find all the areas where we don't have sidewalk.
Yeah.
So that at least helps us figure out where we need to put in some data.
Yeah.
You guys just need to tell us what is of those 3 checks, what are the most important ones you want us to look at first? Because essentially, I would like to set up in the IT team. I'd like to almost set up like a little SWAT team or a little SEAL team, and we're going to go out and we're going to attack the data in different groups, different divisions. Just my thought, it's just all in my head. Push comes to shove.
You just want to go on a mission.
Yeah, I'm ex-military.
So that one there, it looks like it's just
It's
marked
been-
way
yeah.
off the path.
Where it should be, because this one is here in that sidewalk and it's okay, but this
Right.
one's kind of off.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know how I messed up that count.
No, I think you may have run on the
we
limited
need to-
area. Yeah.
Do we need to redo our transfer QC list just to see if we need a more accurate count?
No, we what we can do is we can take the RBJ file and let it run on the server on the default version, okay, and we can
Mhm.
give you those results again on everything.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
it just takes a long time to run, but maybe even sometime it depends on the number of checks. It may run overnight too, or at least 4
Okay.
hours. So we don't want to do it in this meeting.
No,
But
you could kick it off like tonight if you want.
yeah, but we
Whatever.
will make that schema change first on the subtypes and all, and then we can go from there. Okay. The other thing I just want to show is we have all of these. There's also something called topology, which you have just seen Adam demonstrate one method of like fixing the topology, right? So the topology also, while you're editing, and I'll close this data reviewer for a minute, okay? And you do have transportations topology. Here's, the planimetric topology over here, right? It does show up. And what you can do is in any given area, you can validate it. I wouldn't do it on your entire data set. I would only do it on a certain specific area. Okay, in order to do any of some of these activities there, you will be editing the data. Oh, we are already in an edit session, are we? Okay, let me show you the rules of your topology. Planimetric and planimetric topology. The same kind of topology everybody has, like the planning data set has their own, and then um, traffic also. So this is all the feature classes that participate in that topology. It's kind of similar to what you have seen, but the rules are like this. The boundary, the sidewalk line must be covered by the boundary of, and then on the right side you have what it says here is the sidewalk poly.
Yeah, so basically you have a line data set. The line needs to be covered by the polygon needs to be covered by the line.
And the poly here gets covered by the line. So it's both ways. Okay, and then there's must not overlap on the sidewalk line, must not self overlap, must not self intersect. So these are all just on the layer itself. Must be a single part. That means you're not allowed to have that multi-part lines here. Multi-part features must not self overlap again here. And then you have the curb ramp point must be properly inside the GIS sidewalk poly. Okay, so these are all there too, like the topology errors. This is in addition to the data reviewer checks that you have just seen. Okay, so and we did not really validate it right now, I would say. Okay.
Yeah, once we add that little component into the curb, Haritha, then we need a new rule to check for the curb ramp point in that part of the sidewalk.
Yeah, we need
or
to.
whatever.
Right.
So something to think about.
The subtype would be curb ramp. You can define the topology rules at subtype level. I'm choosing the planimetric topology.
Yeah. Subtype would be like ramp.
Right. And when you do that, these will kind of come in play here. You can validate the topology in a specified area or in the current extent. And when you do that, it's going to be showing you some errors. You see the point errors. The symbol for the point errors is this. So it's got some point errors. And you have something called an error inspector. Okay, and you can say, okay, search now in this area, and so you can navigate to each one of these. What rule did it violate? It mentions that. Okay, so curb ramp point must be inside. And that's not inside, so that's an error. And the same thing. So you see those things change color. The moment I click on this, it becomes black, but this is actually how the point errors are shown. And then, so there were 6 errors that it found here.
Maybe we can move the topology layer below everything so we can see the other points.
Yeah, we can do that too. And I'll actually change these. You can change the colors. Maybe make it yellow, highlights.
And then you like purple. You want to make it obnoxiously identifiable because you want to be able to say, oh, yeah, I don't want that.
Something. We have yellow highlights right now. So yeah. Now, if you found line errors or point errors, those kind of things, then obviously you'll find them. And you can fix them once you fix them, of course. Like, for example, if you moved this one here to the right one, then you can again validate your topology and then it will clear those errors for you.
And so what she's showing visible extent. So if she unchecks that checkbox, then you may have more. But ideally, when you're cleaning up topology, I'm probably doing a lot of this myself, is you don't want to be looking, it's like the whole thing like data reviewer. You don't want to look and say, oh, I got 20,000 more to fix. You really want to bounce around and fix 10 here, 8 here, small numbers, because it keeps you motivated to move forward.
Right. Mainly, I would say this is very good for you as soon as you finish your edits for your project, right? So you can always say in this area right now you can validate in the current extent, and that yellow thing is gone. Point. Okay. So
Yeah, you go in, you edit, you put your line work in, you run topology, you fix your topology, then you come back and run reviewer.
yeah, that way you will have way lesser errors to fix with data reviewer. You only have so this is more like at the editor's level you're doing it. Okay. Any questions on this one?
And so like topology is core to ArcMap. Data reviewer is an extension to ArcMap. Essentially built for the big federal agencies like the Department of Defense, BLM, to do massive quantities of data cleanup.
Right.
Kind of where that tool came from.
The other thing we have to say is that when you edit, say for example, you have this topology rule saying that the edge sidewalk line, right? And the sidewalk poly here, notice that has no, it's only gray color and no line at the end. So if you were to edit with you're modifying this, right? And so you can go and select the line and double click it. Actually, it didn't select the line. I think it was, I'll just make a small change here. We'll make it non-selectable. And the same with wards. It keeps popping up again and again. Are wards selectable? Yes, they are. Okay. So now you can go to sketch properties, or you can reshape this edge or something like that. So you see the sidewalk line right now. When you edit it, I can take the reshape. Just showing you some random edit for this. Right? Just the line gets moved. And then this sidewalk doesn't, right? And so if you have a topology rule, which I think I saw the topology rule for you, you can always do like the shared edges, shared features, just like Adam was editing before. With the trace tool in a similar way.
So basically what you're saying is you have feature editing. Feature editing is only going to edit one of the two features that overlap one another. But an edge edit will take the polygon line and the line where they share, and when you move that around, they both will move together.
Freddie,
You
do
can
you see?
easily do just the polygon and then come back and do the line, or you can just do them all as one edit.
Okay, so right now in shared features, I don't see. Okay, I was looking for this window, the shared features window. So
What topology do you have selected right now?
I think it is the GeoDatabase topology. Do we have a rule for that, or?
We should have a rule. Well, we have a rule for sidewalk lines and polygons need to overlap one another.
Right. But I don't see them showing up over here. I can show with the map topology the same thing, right? So maybe I can use the map topology that Adam had previously set up these layers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
sidewalk
maybe,
line and sidewalk poly.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
What's weird is, yeah, it's not giving you the ability to do a reshape. We'll have to look into that.
Yeah. But yeah, you should get them over here. That's what I'm trying to see. It should be populated in the list, but you can edit it that
Yeah.
way too. Think more than one got selected or something like that. I just have to double check. Okay. Doesn't show up. Okay.
Could you just try reshaping the line and just see if it comes along?
The map topology.
Yeah, just see if you can reshape one of those lines and see if they both change.
It's
you'll get lucky.
not supposed to work, but yeah,
Oh, okay.
it
Darn.
just
that's a
it's
feature
just
for
the
them.
polygon. Reshape doesn't work with this tool.
Yeah. So go use the topology tool. Not that one, the other one. The second button.
This one here.
Yep. Select that. Select the topology edit tool. Now select the line segment. Select it. So basically what you need to do is, I don't know why the icon looks a little, there
Okay,
you go.
1
Now
minute,
you can
sorry.
reshape.
Yeah, it's just clicking
You
on
need to
that.
select the edge before you can edit the edge.
Right. Okay, so you get that, and then you can, let's say,
Go
take
to the
this
reshape.
edge. I can just move it, for example, and snap it to the other. Just showing an example that you can snap it over here. Okay, it's going to move the whole thing with it. The polygon and the line. I'm going to click outside for a second so that you can see. Not that you do this kind of editing, but I'm just showing it moved both of them together. Now the pink line is underneath that right of way line. I'll turn off the improvements for a second so you can see that. Okay, it kind of moved it together.
Wow.
Okay, now same thing again. That's the edge. I don't know if we can use this reshape.
No.
It won't. Yeah, it
use
won't
the-
allow you to do it.
Do the reshape edge now on the topology and just draw like a little square around it. Not that one, that one. Click that and
this
just
is the one. This is
do
what
a-
you'd use rather than that one. So you can
just do that.
just say go this way.
Yeah, see, there's no line there because they're moving together.
Yeah.
This is one of the probably one of the most powerful things really is the idea of being able to have these shared edges that move together. But you need a topology to be able to do it.
Yeah. Okay. So let me show maybe I think this travel way. I don't know if travel way and the sidewalk have something together like a rule. I'm not sure. But I think the street improvements and this should have a rule. I don't know if I know for sure that the sidewalk poly and this one has the rule. So this is something that you can certainly edit together, the polygon and the line together. As a matter of fact, normally when people create, they don't, at least in the modern like your database design, you don't have the lines being created separately. What people have is they actually don't have this line at all, and instead they have just the poly with a line around it. It shows up with the line around it.
Hey, Ted.
Yeah.
It's our flex tomorrow, and we need to kind of wrap some things up for the week. Can we are we close to done, or are we?
We're actually done at this point of time. We just wanted to show you the topology and editing the topology.
Yeah, and I just want to say, we'll go, when they make these changes, that they're going to make these final changes, we'll push it out to production. We'll tell you what's ready to go, and we'll just start. And I mean, really, it's Mike D and Elijah started, Water started. I don't know really how much they're really doing, though. I mean, they're just dabbling with it at this point, kind of get the feel for it. It's not the expectation you guys are going to go out and like put in like 900 streets next week.
Right.
Might take you 6 months to do one.
Right.
You know, which would be better than the last like 9 years. So, you know.
Right.
But I want to get in here and look at the travel way topology, and
we got to learn Lucity and this at the same time. Hey, no big deal.
And the reality is for Lucity, we ultimately are going to have, once we get Cadastro live, we're going to have to show you how to copy the center lines. If you guys are going to do that process, go into the center lines, copy the new center lines, and pop them into Lucity.
Okay.
So I'll let you know when they come back to me and tell me that they made those changes. Once DCSP makes those final changes, whatever they'll do, we'll go live on that data, probably sometime next week.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
planning has a meeting next week. And then after planning has their meeting, we'll go live on their data.
Right. So go through the workbooks, the editor manuals and the QC
Mhm.
manual. Let us know if you have any questions. I know this is a lot, especially topology and shared topology editing, or we've looked at advanced editing, even though this was a QC session. So it's a lot actually, but slowly, one step at a time. Our
And I'll
success will
help all
be.
you guys. I'll help everybody do whatever you guys need to do.
Okay. I think we just got to start putting in projects and we'll learn how
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah. Trial and error,
One step
Yep.
at a time. Okay.
one step at a time.
Okay.
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 Thank you,
Well,
everyone.
thank you. All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks, Adam.
See you guys later. Thanks, Ted. Bye.